through the skin. I like it when the bite marks cut through the skin. Tell me the walls are closing in, into the fire and born again. Taste the pain and drink it in. You say you're not afraid to die, but take off the armor around your chest. What's left inside?
미드가 진짜 중요하다. 미드 픽을 뭘 할까 지금 그게 가장 지금.
잠깐만요. 상대 오빈 좀 보자.
사이를 할까 그냥 우리가? 어때?
괜찮아 보이는데?
사이를 그냥 할래?
오케이.
사이를 하자.
근데 사인 입장에서 니코 궁극기가 진짜 대박이거든요.
각 잘 봐보자.
내가 그냥 그래 해볼게.
오케이. 우리 치면서 갖보자. 형 쏘일 수 있나?
나 쏘볼게 여기 있는데.
어.
야 나 오리복. 야 여기 와볼래? 와볼래?
리코 노플. 빼면서. 해야겠다.
미안해. 까비.
아타칸으로 간다 얘네.
야 이번에 탑에서 보면 그냥 싸움 거는 게 어때?
얘네 올라간다.
야 니코 아래인데? 이거 살짝 건드리면서 봐도 될 것 같아.
라인이고.
야 쟤네 날 내려.
야 그라텔 없는데. 그라텔
야,
없어.
빨리 먹어.
야 마크 해줄 수 있어 이거?
빨리 먹어.
먹어,
빨리
먹어.
먹어.
야 짜오 용이다. 좋다. 아따까리 꽁지.
야 용 이제 치는 거면 나 태가 볼게 형. 미드라인 하면 천천히 미드 바텀으로 천천히 나가는 거야 알았지?
어.
이 싸움 봐야 돼 형.
천천히 해봐. 상대도
야
별로
싸움
없어.
끊을게 이거.
어.
아니다 형 에바다. 상대 버튼. 우리 없어. 우리 여기 바스.
이거 이을게 잭용. 야 이득이야 이거 게이득이야. 나 미드에 보여줬다가 열로 바로 꺾을게. 바텀 다이버 나 우리.
타워 쳤어.
사올게.
야 진짜 인질.
나 죽었고.
야야 빼. 안 된다.
야 이득이야. 하나겠어.
네 치고 있다.
이거 있어.
자 다각으로 잘 싸워보자.
나 가볼게 이거 앞으로.
들어. 잡았어. 싸워.
빨리 좋아.
야
바로. 먹었어.
이거지.
나이스. 야 미드 이번에 몸이야 미드.
근데 나 나쁘.
오케이. It's okay.
괜찮아.
야 이제 레드 버리고 바로 나는 각이다.
앞라인 싸움이야.
찍고 있어.
야 얘네 그냥 극딜한다.
배가 그부터. 야 배가 이 없어. 야 다각.
야 나 가볼게 이거. 나 가볼게.
붙이고. 그리고.
뒤에 뽑았어.
이 저기 괜찮아. 레이지 필. 아이고 팩트는 이 지금 이미 건강하는 거야.
조용히 해봐. 머리 아파. 나 진짜 머리가 너무 아파.
와 이거 진짜 쌍수형 크래키 지렸다. 사일러스.
자신감 있게 사이라는 게 좋았어. DRX의 1세트는 레전드긴 하네.
JRX 1세트 그냥 걸으면 될 것 같아.
우리는 1세트 없어.
우리 1세트 없다. 가자.
전반적으로 아무래도 젠지 e스포츠 쪽으로 좀 많이 넘어갔다는 평가를 받고 있는데 이 분위기를 어떻게 반전시킬 수 있을지 확인해 보겠습니다.
야 자이라 지금 삑땅 쳤거든 이거? 자이라 지금부터 남는다 얘들아.
자이라 지금 올 수 있는 거지?
아 갈 수 있어. 근데 반피야 이거. 자이라 미드.
그리고 여기 살짝 넘어갔는데 전멸. 그렇게 데미지 다 줬습니다만
아 근데 클로저가 혼자서 열심히.
클로저가 이거를 잡습니다.
클로저.
나이스.
잘 잡았고. 야 얘들아 미드 끝났거든. 천천히 해봐. 미드 개펴줄게. 시원하게 이따 아타가 치면서 싸움 볼래?
그냥 치면서 보자. 치면서.
어차피 가인이라 이긴 놈이 그거거든.
맞아. 야, 밀어줘.
스마스 해봐.
괜찮거든 얘들아. 천천히 볼래 이제?
야 천천히 보자 이거. 야 레오나도 프리스터. 바론까지 이어볼래 이거.
바로 하자.
요네 아래.
얘들아 바로 하자. 바로 칠게. 보면서 하자. 야 이러다 열어도 돼 그냥.
야, 나 지금 볼게. 진. 야, 지금 볼게. 진.
뒤쪽 봐줘.
자이라 잡을게. 자이라
자이라 높게.
자이라 높게.
얘들아 잘했다.
이제는 그냥 한타 잘하는 사람이 이길 때 이제부터.
야, 상대 블루 쪽 봐도 돼.
얘네 이제 레드버프라서 인제해야 돼.
아니 블루 좀 말고.
이거 걸렸다.
바로 신경 써줘.
천천히 보면서.
야, 얘네 노고.
형 계속
야,
바로
얘네
신경
피
써야
바피야,
돼.
얘들아. 지금 텔타기 전에 한번 보든가, 얘들아.
야 여기 자이라 풀려.
야,
여기 나다.
봤어.
칼 잘러. 칼 좀 멀긴 해 얘들아 이거. 어때?
봐줄게.
야 천천히 볼것 같은데? 야 차례 빼면서 와봐. 야 차례 볼게 이거.
빼면서.
야 차례 볼게 하나 나오면 빼면서 와봐.
아니야 빼봐.
나못 쓴다.
가위.
소리야.
집중 좀 해줘. 괜찮아.
사실 자이라가 좀 나와서 내 생각에 내가 자이라한테 봐서도 되긴 했을 것 같아.
우리 집중하면 이길만해 얘들아.
집중하자. 충분히 이길만해.
이거 상대 블루 얘기 나오는 게 너무 이상하다 지금.
야 제이스 보자. 야 이번에 차례 이거 나 강남 봐올게. 야 진. 야 진 봐줘.
어차피 볼게.
아프다 빨리 와. 아프다 봐.
아.
야 요네 올게. 나 요네.
야, 미드 가보자.
야 이거 살아봐. 야 조금씩 나올게 이거.
야, 상대 레드 쪽 싸움 보자, 얘들아. 얘네 바텀도 받아야 돼.
야 이러면 천천히 발만하지 않냐?
자이라 들어올게.
천천히 가볼게.
야 자이라 풀 빼올게. 야 자이라.
자이라 풀만 빼봐.
야, 레드 먹었어.
야 볼게. 맞아.
야, 나
야,
제이스
이거
볼게. 제이스.
얘들아 나이스. 얘들아 어때 오로라?
아, 나이스.
그래, 이거라니까.
그거야.
기가 막히지.
아니, 클로 짝이잖아, 그냥.
클로 짝.
와, 나 칼부했어.
얘들아
진짜 설렁했다.
원래
나이스.
카이사는 그런 거야.
나이스, 지렸다, 너.
LCK의 호랑이 텐츠가 작은 거인 디펜딩 챔피언 오케이 조충은의 브리온한테 사냥당합니다.
마지막 판 힘내보자.
환자들이 너무 많아. 어떡해. 우리 미드탑 형 그냥 갔어.
어제
우리 탑미를 감기, 우리 코치 감기, 감독 감기.
감기 파티 DRX.
왜 이거 했어요?
이겼어. 그치?
아니 왜 이거 했어요?
안 들려?
아니
왜 썼냐고? 아파. 나 아파. 나 병든다.
필 나도.
선수분들 준비 확인하겠습니다. 준비되셨나요?
가보자. 아픕시다.
이 저기 괜찮아 레이지 삐 아이고 팩트는 이 지금이니
조용히 해봐.
건강하는 거임
진짜 머리가 너무 아파.
아, 구두가 있습니다만 제재. DM 프릭스가 그냥 보스는 없대. 이 아타칸이 어떤 아타칸인데?
아 근데 이게 포킹으로 피가 왜 이렇게 많이 갈렸죠 이게?
근데 체력이 이미 많이 죽었는데요?
얘네 상대 개쓰레기긴 하다.
나 위에서 어그로 걸로 줄게.
시간 조심.
오공 한번 떴고. 빅토르 딜 못한다 이거.
야, 오공 그거야.
오공부터. 야 막스 지금.
나 딸피.
야 빅토르. 야 나르도고. 천천히 볼게.
아타칸 먹여줄게.
나르바. 펜타 아니야. 펜타인데? 아 진짜 지우라. 아 진짜 지우라. 리신이 먹었는데 왜 지우냐? 나 허드란데? 리신이 아타칸 처리한 거구나. 시리가 먹었는데. 아 그래? 나 리신이 킬 먹은 줄 알았어요. 이런 거 그냥 지금 빨리 미드 아타칸 쓸래 나 여기서. 내가 깨고 시작하자. 깨고 누나. 나도. 너가 먼저 한 거다. 아니 근데 이제 착각할 만했어. 내 진짜 리플레이 돌려줬어요. 네, 나도 리신 킬인 줄. 형 근데 저번에 카운팅 잘못해가지고 신뢰가 좀 떨어지긴 했다. 확인이야. 다음에 챙겨줄게. 확인이야. 잡은 거 어때? 잡은 거 야그 바로 40초 남았어. 그걸 주죠. 이러면 줄게요.
얘가 미드 조심해야 된다. 노태 밀어 넣었다.
바로 30초.
젠지와 DN 프릭스의 선수를 지금부터 만나보시죠.
오늘은 하겠죠.
그러니까 버서커 했다.
깔끔하고 젠틀하게.
이 사인이 얼마나 의미 있게 바뀔지 잠시 후에 확인해 보시길 바라겠습니다. 우리는 언제나 처음에 그 강한 젠지라는 걸 보여주고 싶어 할 것 같고 DN 프릭스도
크게 외쳐봐야겠죠.
그렇습니다. 그럼 파이팅적인 측면하면 역시 또 디엔프릭스죠. 그렇죠. 한중미 연합으로 네, 자유로운 분위기에서 한번 날아올라야 되고.
우리 화이팅이 시원찮아 근데.
아 민철이가 가오 잡아서 그래.
근데 왜 미국 팀이었어? 맨날 가오졌는데. 스트레이트 1 DNF 해야 되는 거 아니야? 모르긴 해.
아 미안해. 내가 화이팅을 안 했구나.
야 파도까지 타는 줄 알았어요. 대단하네요.
아니 왜 DM 프릭스 하는데 화이팅을 안 해줘 아무도?
아니 안에서 위아래 버줘야지.
그 위에가 공룰이긴 해? 나밖에 안 하는 줄 알았어.
서운하네 오늘도.
네, 양 팀의 첫 번째 세트 OK저축은행 브리온과 젠지 e스포츠 경기입니다.
용까지 먹은 시점에서 이거 불러내서 싸워야 된답니다.
저는 브리온 입장에서 차라리 이렇게 치고 싸웠으면 좋겠어요.
그렇죠.
싸우나요?
레오나를 볼래 이제?
천천히 보자 이거. 레오나부터 앞에 프리스터. 바로까지 이어볼래 이거.
바로 하자 바로. 얘들아 잘했다.
할 필요 없는 것 같아요.
그 선을 좀 지켜줘야 된다는 언급이 나왔는데
야 이거 걸렸다 얘들아. 야 요네 누구? 야 요네 피 방피야 얘들아. 지금 텔 타기 전에 한번 보든가 얘들아.
야 여기 자이라 볼래? 여기 날라왔다.
우리 봤어.
칼 잘라.
이거 아이프 너무 세거든요.
우리 집중하면 이길만해 얘들아.
집중하자. 충분히 이길만해.
이거 상대 불러 얘기 나오는 게 너무 이상하다 지금.
이걸 잡아 먹습니까? 오케이.
되게 자연스러운 흐름으로 가니까 좀 게임이 굴러가긴 해. 조용히 너도 박는 거 자연스러운 흐름이어서 뭐. 다 말만 해줘 가.
야 말없이 날라가서 깜짝 놀랐다.
나도 놀랐어.
근데 뭔가 나도 하는데 약간 너무 말없이 날라가서.
화이팅!
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the LCK Cup, the final game before we get into the play-in stage. It's very, very exciting, and this last one still actually has a few stakes in it, as BNK Fearex, unfortunately, unable to pick up a win thus far in the tournament, and Nongshim certainly trailing behind their Team Elder brethren.
That's right, and for the DN Freaks, they are waiting with bated breath. Their fate is not in their hands. It's actually in the hands of Nongshim. If Nongshim win, then they get a chance to play in the play-ins. If BNK win, it'll be them instead. The reason why, of course, we bring up the standings is because they're not actually in Nongshim's group. So Nongshim is guaranteed play-ins by default because their Group Elder has their bottom teams going into play-ins by default. So weirdly enough, this means that the standings here for the Group Baron are kind of up to whether Nongshim wins or not. So you can see that reflected in the standings here. BNK needs a win here to pass DN Freaks. A win with any score would put them higher, and that would knock DN Freaks out. If Nongshim wins, however, that would put BNK at 0-5, and they would therefore be eliminated from play-ins.
Exactly. So still a lot on the line here, and of course, BNK going to be playing for their tournament lives, as you say, Wolf. It might mean that they'll have a little bit more fire in their belly than Nongshim, who would only really have fire in their belly because of the delicious noodles that Nongshim have been cooking up for them. I think still definitely going to be coming out swinging here and wanting to pick up an extra win to give them that momentum moving into the play-in stage. And as you can see here, this is what Wolf illustrated just before, and it says it pretty plain as day. If they win, they're going to advance to the play-in stage, and the DN Freaks will be eliminated. And if Nongshim win, then it's DN Freaks that are going to be heading towards the play-in stage. So we'll see. Of course, must feel good for BNK Fearex to at least have their fate in their own hands, even if fate did leave the organization.
That's correct. This is the matchup that we're most looking forward to here. Diablo versus Gio, two challengers players who came up through the same time frame, even though Diablo was younger, didn't play in the LCK last year. Now he's had his debut. Two promising AD carries. Gio with a pretty eclectic champion pool, some really great scaling picks like his famous Smolder. Diablo, more flashy like Smash, a little bit more unchained of a player. Yep. Can get a little bit crazy sometimes, loves his Zeri, loves to go in and be aggressive as Kaisa as well. So I think we have two different playstyles, but two different very talented players who are definitely going to be the key ones to look forward to for this matchup this afternoon.
Yep, I do think that there is a little bit of opposing momentum as far as the play recently for both of these players. We have seen Gio be like a huge pop-off player. This guy has carried games where we didn't think that they were carryable, but it just hasn't happened so far in 2025. So we're waiting for it. We're waiting for those moments. And in fact, like his damage share compared to other AD carries is like bottom 3, bottom 2, something like this at the moment in the LCK. It's disappointing to see, and we're hoping that we do get the Gio back that we are used to seeing, because this guy has been a carry monster in the past, and he's so adorable. We want to see it. We want to see him happy. We want to see him come out swinging. Someone who has been swinging, has been kinging. Highest damage for any top laner in the league, percentage-wise, in comparison to the rest of his team. And it's been a lot of how's the LCK put it? A lot of burden on his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, we had him the only top laner to pick up a player of the match as well. Played that Gangplank series, which is where a lot of those numbers come from. But I think what's so exciting to me about this matchup is you have two teams who haven't really reached their potential, right? You have Nongshim on the other side, who has a really cool roster. You thought Gio and Lehens would be a match made in heaven, King and the Veteran coming through. And then you have BNK, who I think a lot of people were super low on this roster coming through, saying with the caliber of players they have built with this roster with, they would be weak, but they almost beat Gen G. They've been almost able to get so many of these wins. I think they've overperformed our expectations, but haven't been able to actually close these series out. Sitting at a 0-4, after the performances we saw from them in week 1 and halfway through week 2, you would have expected they would definitely be in the play-ins, but they need to win this matchup tonight to make it happen. So again, two teams who haven't quite lived up to what we expect from them, and one of them will come out victorious tonight. For Nongshim, no stakes here, but still, you want to get that win, you want to have the best seed possible, you want to come with that momentum into play-ins as well.
Yeah, and you don't want to feel like a fraud heading towards play-ins. And I could imagine that being bottom of your group, being way away from the next team, as DRX sitting on 3-2 right now in the group, and Nongshim 1-3. So not even able to catch up to the 4th place, and a DRX that is a team that hasn't looked all that good anyway. It's going to feel good if they manage to pick up a victory here, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We've got a match to play out, and they're going to have to put their money where their mouth is. One very important thing for BNK enjoyers is the fact that they have blue side. They haven't been able to pick up any victories at all on red. They've been able to steal away 3 of them on the blue side in game 2s. Never have they won a game 1, but blue side is certainly a better opportunity for them. So I think that the deck is stacked in their favor right now, but that will mean that if they lose this game 1, I don't think it's ever going to a game 3.
Yeah, I will tend to agree with you on that. We've just seen blue side generally be super dominant here in LCK Cup, and so having that extra first pick is so valuable right now. Plus, even the reply picks that you have on B2, B3 give you good answers oftentimes to the picks on the red side, because in that first Fearless draft, specifically, everything is open, so you have the most chances to actually get the first pick and then 2 great responsive picks and deny them from your opponent and deny them for the rest of the series as well. So there's so many extra layers in Fearless as to why I think blue side right now in terms of draft strategy has that extra edge. There's Diablo, the man of the afternoon. We'll see if he is going to be able to stack up against this guy, Gio, who's not a veteran, I wouldn't say just yet, but definitely has a lot more LCK experience.
Yeah, it feels like he has got to veteran status, though, especially because it was so publicized what that Nongshim roster was able to do in Challenger, and then that entire team came into the LCK, so it sort of felt like they were an LCK team for a little bit longer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Gio certainly feeling like a bit of a household name over here in the LCK, and now up alongside Lehens, Gio's still trying to figure out how he can be that big carry machine. Because one of the issues with playing alongside Lehens, we've had a lot of players deal with it over the years, is that he just kind of leaves you to do your own thing. And an independent AD carry is hard to find. You know, often they do need a little bit of help getting stuff going in the early stages of the game. And Gio, I think it's probably a bit of a learning experience, and the difficulty curve can be a bit odd when it comes to playing alongside Lehens. So hopefully, in this game, he's going to be feeling a whole lot better. As Ryu there, looking a little bit fatigued, looking like it's been a rough time, and he was pretty hard on himself, you know, blaming himself a lot for some of the awkward drafts that BNK have found themselves facing off against. So we'll see how he actually manages to get into this champion select this time around.
I think one of the big boons that BNK have here moving into this one is that the mid lane matchup, I think, does favor Vikla quite a bit. I think even though he hasn't seen those big wins, those big results just yet as a mechanical player against Fisher, who just really isn't that guy and comes online a lot later, if you can draft something for Vikla here, give him a good counter pick to Fisher, then you're going to end up having a good time, at least in that lane, which has been so important so far here in LCK Cup. It feels like for the last 2 years has been such a pivotal role in getting you that map control.
Yeah, well, here we are into the draft. Let's dive into game number 1 and see what's going to be banned away. No surprises on the red side, as Skarner Kalista have just needed to be banned. This is where you get somewhat flexibility. Something like, you know, yesterday it was Ashe that needed to be banned away, but I don't know whether that's necessarily as high priority. Maybe something like an Aurora could be removed from Kingen and Fisher. Kingen actually been putting up some numbers on that champion as well, so removing some flexibility could be a good idea. We'll see what they do decide to do. As Rumble, another Kingen-aimed ban, and a good one too.
I wonder where they're going to take this. I mean, Ashe is still a strong pick, Var is still a strong pick. You have the ability to just grab Ambessa here.
True.
All of these picks will shape your drafts in different ways, so again, that's the power of blue side here. Nongshim have it, and we will see what they will opt for. A lot of consideration here. The Vi was banned by them, and Aurora hasn't really been, I mean, before, okay, there's the Ambessa instead, but Aurora was one of those picks that in Kespa Cup was always in that spot. In the first week of LCK Cup was almost always in that spot, but has really fallen off here quite a bit, actually, towards the end of week 2, and now in our final week of the group battle stage. Jace is one of those other picks that's also been super highly prioritized by our top teams that they could have gone for, but we'll go over to BNK instead. We'll see what they want to grab with this. Could just be a strong jungle pick. Even something like a Lilia would make sense, although it's not really Raptor's thing.
Ooh, Poppy going to be hovered here, and I was kind of pranked, Wolf, because with the fact that it was written as BNK Furex versus Nongshim on everything, I assumed that it was BNK that had side selection. That's not actually the case.
Yeah, it's Nongshim actually.
So that's why Nongshim are on blue side. Because I was looking at it, I'm like, wait, they chose red? Are they insane? And then I double checked, and they do in fact have side selection for this one.
I knew something wasn't right, but I was like, I don't know, I missed something as well. So I apologize to everyone, but
no, it's just that it was that's how it was sort of publicized, and it's a little bit of a predetermined thing, and like there's some coin flipping going on to figure out who gets side selection. So just clarifying that one, if the Elise is locked in,
and that does reverse everything we said about BNK having that advantage. So it makes it a little bit tougher for them here, starting on red side, but. Elise here into the Poppy, if it is in fact going to be Poppy support, feels really nice. But you don't know what the bottom matchup is just yet, so this feels almost like a trap here for Nongshim to lock this one in this early without knowing that matchup and knowing that Raptor could potentially be playing this Poppy. Could also, theoretically, even be going tops as well. So probably not into the Ambessa, doesn't sound like a fun time, but either way, this Elise pick is very dangerous, and now BNK have the opportunity to try to set up a bottom lane that's safe against this. And also their top lane, because it'll likely be a lane swap, the top laner has to lane against that Elise, can set up something more safe as well. So like the Jace could now go mid, just as a result of this Elise being shown this early.
Not to mention the fact that it's a Kai'Sa as well, so a lot of magic damage, not really as worried about the damage profile if that champion has been locked in. Opens a bunch of doors as far as that draft is concerned. And Ryu going to be happy about that because they were, you know, a bit shoehorned in previous drafts, and so probably going to be feeling a lot better about how this one's going.
The Caitlyn ban is so easy here, it's so obvious because the Elise is already locked in. The synergy with the Cocoon into Trap, we've seen so much. You crush the lane swap, you know, you crush the lane, they lane swap, you crush the top laner, like you win everything. So that one they're not going to allow through. The Lilia I was mentioning earlier, I think is a really wise ban here for Nongshim Red Force as well, considering we may have that Jace mid. Double ADs means you want some more magic damage, even though you have the Kai'Sa. It's got great setup here as well in this draft already. You could set up Shock Blast, you set up a Kai'Sa ult with the sleep. So a lot of long range, plus the engage of the Kai'Sa feels really good with that pick. Ezreal, similar situation, even though Kai'Sa has kind of been, air quotes, a great response, like a great counter to the Ezreal. I think it's really good in this draft for Nongshim Red Force. A lot of power with the Elise too.
Let's see what the final ban is going to be. They might stick to some of these AP junglers, but I don't think you necessarily need to. I think maybe getting rid of something that's just a bit more standard could be an option here, as they're taking their time. Azir going to be taken away from Vikla instead, moving towards that mid lane. So now, an opportunity here. I expect a jungle to be locked in, keep that mid lane, top lane as flexible as possible.
I agree. Wukong is a strong option here, really punishing into the Elise and can be quite strong into Sejuani as well. So
yeah, the Armor Shred really strong.
It's not necessarily the peel for AD carry Wukong that we've seen a lot of the time, where you keep that late game AD carry alive. The front to back team fight kind of gets protected, but it does fit the theme of a little bit more aggressive play around this Poppy.
Where's the Neela? Jiwoo, where is it? He was the Neela guy, remember? Of course, we haven't seen that champion. I don't even know whether it exists anymore in 2025. But
there's the Zeri.
This one does.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
I mean, I guess if you really have the perfect scenario, you could set up a feather call, the blade call with the Cocoon and stuff, you know? There's like some synergy maybe.
Yeah, and it was also Zeri Elise. And Zeri Elise doesn't feel very good, so maybe that's the thing. So we're going to lock in the Aurora. Still flexing, actually.
Yes.
You saw Fisher having a bit of a giggle, and that means that, yeah, maybe they're not even entirely sure who's going to be playing what just yet.
I think you could play Galio here, actually. It's not a lot of damage, but it gives you a really nice response to the Aurora, and you can match the Aurora no matter where she goes in that flexibility. Victor, I like a little bit less. There's a lot more magic damage. Vikla is not the type of player I associate with control mages and slow controlled gameplay and just kind of being a front-to-back AP carry type player. He has done it in the past, but it's not really been what he's known for. He's more similar to Closer, who he replaced on this roster, who plays a lot of melees, plays a lot more explosive picks. But at the end of the day, when I look at these drafts here, I don't think either team ended up with a draft that is super strong in its own isolation, but I like what BNK put together here and how it's going to set up team fights. The Poppy could be quite strong, could be very powerful in the early game, can help control objectives. And when we get to these messy team fights with these two teams that just aren't known for clean team fighting, I do feel like BNK can counter some of Nongshim's craziness that they like to pull off. You know, you pull out the Elise, It's Lehens, I get it, you know, but maybe he gets punished a few times. I feel like there's a lot more opportunity when things get a little bit messy on the B&K side. If I look at either draft, though, like I said moments ago, I don't feel like either of these drafts are even A tier necessarily. It's very much these players are playing what they want to play, not what the meta dictates is necessarily the best type of draft we could have had here.
Yeah, there is some salvaging to be done here, and as I think more about it, I think the Zeri would have been almost grief into the Poppy, because we've seen Poppies just snatch Zeris away from victory so many times. Our best ones, of course, have been able to win games, but the Xayah certainly escapes that heroic charge problem a little bit more effectively, and there's a lot of zone control against this composition, which doesn't have a whole lot of range outside of Victor and Jace being able to get some poke in. An interesting one on both sides. Let's jump into it. All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. 2 arcane characters and Mega Man on the side of BFX is very exciting. And so we'll see how that top side is going to go with, you know, Space Vein and Poppy.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
If it was something like Caitlyn, Elise here in the top side, you know, I feel pretty rough for Clear if he ended up in that matchup, but they are going to match the swap. They have a ward as well. They haven't seen the Elise just yet, obviously, but they can reasonably assume, especially because they didn't see a big group up on the top side, that any information is being hidden. Lehens is going to go sweep to, you know, say, oh, okay, they don't know for sure, but they also don't know that, yeah, it's just Diablo and Kellen on the other side.
And I can't remember the matchup, the interaction, but I'm pretty sure Steadfast Presence blocks Elise's Spider Form Q.
I actually don't know that, but I feel like it should.
Yeah, because it's like a mini dash forward.
Yeah.
As, Clear is doing that I'm a top laner thing. I want level 2 so I don't die immediately as I go to lane, and we've seen this every single day thus far. But
I like to think of that
scary
spider move as like a bite and not a dash, but it does propel you forward like a dash. I just don't know how it's coded.
You do lunge a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's just been a while since I've seen the matchup. So maybe our scholars on the desk will be able to let us know.
We might see it right before our eyes as well in this lane at some point.
They are standing next to each other. You do have a point. Let's see what Kellen's going to be able to get done on this Poppy. He has had some good Poppy games in the past, but sometimes when he's on proactive champions like this, he can freeze, not necessarily have those proactive plays on lock, but we'll see how he does go. So Nongshim do get the wave pushed up, and at least they do have a lot of control here in this early stage of the game, as even the poke is landing pretty nicely as Jiu throws out a few of these Qs. We will have a bit of a microscope on Jiu in this series, just because, as highlighted earlier on, he's the one that needs to be stepping up for Nongshim if they're going to make some waves moving further into this tournament and into the LCK.
I think in this draft, too, it's quite challenging to get a ton of value out of Xayah. You know, great into the Kaisa, of course, but into Victor, you're going to be, you know, you're not going to be able to outrange him or anything like that, and he's going to be layering a lot of damage, and you have to deal with Wukong's Cyclone, which you can't really ult because he will just persist in his Cyclone and knock you up anyways. So you can buy some time, you can buy some space, but it isn't always going to be guaranteed safety against this jungler. So he has a tall order to kind of play this one out properly. As you see, Jace is on a big win streak here. This is played by a lot of strong players as well, including Morgan.
Yeah, it's certainly been the big winning pick, especially this tank Jace, as was piloted expertly by Doran yesterday.
Doran makes me believe in tank Jace. Like,
yeah,
I'm like, actually, at first I was like, this is stupid, this doesn't make any sense. And I watched Doran play, and I'm like, oh my god, it's broken.
Doran is like, he is bringing back these low econ top lanes and making them look successful. It's like, it's been sort of a thing that's happened so many times. We haven't had the expert, you know, we haven't had the Cuvée. Yeah. Right? The Cuvée has been gone for too long, and Doran is now that guy, especially on... Okay, that's just first blood. Kellen's dead.
Well,
there was the interaction, Wolf.
I also said that there's a chance you could set up the feathers with that, and, you know, she was like, challenge accepted. Big damage onto the Poppy, just isn't that tanky at this stage, and down goes Kellen, so... Big win there in the 2v2. And Elise is always going to be strong into melee supports. You know, we've seen it into specifically Leona a lot, just crushing it, because if you're melee and you get caught by the cocoon and then you're rooted And yeah, a bit late on the steadfast presence, but not much really that could have done there. And that is that. So first blood going over to the Elise, in fact, in this case.
And we have to remember as well that Lehens is the most experienced support Elise player we have in the LCK, and he probably is in the world. He's been playing it before it was cool. That was what he was known for coming into the LCK on Griffin in 2018, was playing Singed and playing Elise in every role, but mainly support. So back then it was weird, and now it's just normal. And so Lehens just kind of getting patched in a little bit here, which is to his benefit. Of course, did debut the pick here in the LCK, but now it's been played by absolutely everyone. And I think Carrier's probably had the most impressive games on it thus far.
Yeah.
But, that little gank there in the 2v2, very, very nice as far as the start to this game.
And you could have opted into playing Jace. Hold up.
Okay, he's doing it again. Yeah, Kellen is just going to take a lot of damage. Diablo as well, as Gio is just going to chase him down. The Ghost has been used. Doesn't have the Blade Caller, but they just got back.
Yeah, well, this is a disaster now. It was...
Oh, God. Lehens is just not letting them go home. As there's the flash. Lehens might have bit off more than he can chew. Still burning down. But Gideon's over here. Raptor also turning up, but not actually able to affect the play. So Lehens is going to get scared off. Gio moving on over now as Gideon, a lot of health available, but they don't have control. A Cocoon is up, and it lands onto the Monkey. Repel out immediately as Kellen cannot find it, but they eventually will get that Spider, because what goes up must come down, and Gio is just going to dive on top of Diablo. There it is. Flashes into the brush, but there is vision there already. And Nongshim are all over this early game.
Yeah, I could see the thought process behind what BNK were trying to do there. They had Raptor coming up, but you know, even in a good isolated match to the Sejuani, it's tough when you're not level 6 as a Wukong to make big impactful plays there. They already had the health advantage from that previous trade. The catch on to Lehens was one thing, right? Okay, he overextends, you go there, but then committing further in was a bit of a problem, unfortunately. I think Raptor felt priced in because he made the big rotation over, but they end up losing out on the 3v3 in a big way. And this time, the Kaisa picks up an additional kill. Last time around, it was just Lehens who got that one, so... Or, sorry, the Xayah, excuse me, picks up a kill. And so you've got an 80 carry who's accelerated now in a matchup that you were already kind of crushing and do naturally crush. So things are looking not so good here for BNK in this early game. Watch this again. Diablo is super low. So is Lehens, right? But he's a support in this case. He's going to be the one to set the engagement. Because he has Repel, he can avoid so much damage in this interim. So yes, he does ultimately die, but he buys a ton of time. And then Diablo kind of panics here as well, flashing into this brush. He's not going to change that one, even if there isn't a word there, because they'll just walk in and see him. But I think just hoping maybe he could turn something around.
And I don't even know whether it was necessary, but it was a very sexy flash over the Voidseeker as well from Ju to make sure that he is definitely not dying in that exchange.
Yeah, maybe if he gets hit by that and then he flashes in the brush and there's no ward, maybe there's a chance.
Maybe, like, if the Plasma gets procced, obviously Diablo's going to be doing a whole lot more, so making sure that doesn't happen. But I don't know whether that was all that close in that scenario, but hindsight's 2020. It was very well played here by Ju, and the best thing is that he's showing that killer instinct, and that is precisely what we were asking for at the beginning of this game. You love it when a plan comes together. As Kingen dashing around, not going to be bothered by this steadfast presence, as Kellen will be able to clear out that ward, and now Raptor able to slink in unbeknownst.
It's tough to dive this Ambessa with flash and ult.
Oh, but Gideon's coming in. Oh no, the Wukong gets trapped in the prison, but Kingen's still likely to go down. The public execution is unfortunately not going to get seen by anyone, and BNK, they get out of the woods, but that was very funny at the beginning of that fight.
I feel like that still wasn't like the right move from BNK, but they get lucky, okay? King is a little bit too far away from the turret. Fisher is going to be fine here. We'll get out, no problem. And now Raptor is going to be able to, looks like, take this blue buff away, although.
Yep, ulti comes on through as another dive and another death as the Repel gets him out of there. Fisher going to be flashing. That's the right flash, however, not going to be good enough as Vikla going to secure it with a Chaos Storm. Probably would have been good for that one to go over to Diablo, but I think that Vikla certainly in a position to carry now as well.
Yeah, if he had teleport too, maybe he could come over here and clear up some of these minions and stop this push, but it's going to be a lot of plate gold going over. So this game is kind of off the rails already here. You mentioned BNK having a lot of opportunities of this draft in Chaos. I think they were gifted that kill onto Kingen, and obviously with the extended fight there, Vikla picks up one as well, but they left clear, isolated in that bottom lane. He didn't want to lane into the Elise. He knew he would get dove, but after they got tempo topside, they could then focus him down on the bottom side. And so he gets pushed out there. Tons of plates go over, so their lane swap, where they've matched the lane swap, basically, where they also swapped, I guess I should say, still ends up leaving Clear out to dry here because of that topside exchange. He gets cocooned, he gets burst down. I mean, Elise just does so much damage, and she's so good in this meta because she can avoid a lot of that turret ramp with her repel.
Yeah.
Over here, Raptor looks like, oh, he's overextended, but he actually still is in position to help follow up here, and with the long-range Killer Instinct with just enough mana, Diablo is able to help Vikla get that kill. I thought for sure the kill would go to Diablo.
I think Diablo possibly could have even got it with the Q, but Vikla didn't want to risk it.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, probably Vikla wanted the money, and he does manage to get it there.
So things are just, they're not done.
I've seen this movie before, as Kingen not going to find the ulti once again, but this time he's not dead. Dashing around, will be able to grab himself a shield as he makes his way southward, but Raptor is going to be there. The smite comes in. Good flash, and Kingen! Woohoo! That's some fancy footwork.
Yeah, and all the while,
dodge.
Gio finishes off the turret bottom side, had a rotation over from clear to mid. Raptors, or not Raptors, the Grubs are up in 10 seconds here, so he felt like, okay, we got to make something happen here top side. I need to rotate over, but it leaves the turret open. And now they're not in a position to actually start these Raptors up because Kingen survived. This gives time for rotation to happen. So everybody's up here and set up for this Raptor contest for Nongshim and Raptor. Or sorry, I keep calling it Raptors because Raptor is in the game. But the Grub contest comes over from Nongshim, and Raptor will just have to leave. He is Wukong, so he doesn't have to flash or anything like that, but they get nothing on the map.
Oh man, and this is also 6 Grubs going over to an Ambessa composition. Not to mention that, you know, Aurora actually does decently well in the side lane with, you know, how kind of elusive she can be. So Nongshim's certainly benefiting a whole lot. Also, that is going to be feats of strength now secured for them at the same time as they were able to grab that turret on the bottom side of the map. Upgraded shoes, all that good stuff. As Kellen, I don't know whether he's allowed to walk up here. Clear and Raptor are making their way in, but in this 3v3, it's going to be tough. With a fourth, though, maybe an opportunity. No Blade Caller here for Jiwoo, as he's now looking to get himself out. Great cocoon from Lehens, who does have to flash, but does get himself out of there. Diablo also going to be Killer Instincting in order to make his way out. An awkward verb, not going to lie. As Gideon is going to be on this ward. I feel like we've been waiting for some replays for a while, but we can't get to them because there's just action all over the place. And Kellen is also just going to get prisoned, and now he's in trouble. The cocoon point-blank range onto Raptor as he throws down the Cyclone, but Lehens is going to find him. Still, the second Cyclone's going to take out the Elise. Keeper's verdict says no to Fisher, and Raptor even survives a couple of feathers.
Yeah, you know, I actually still will defend almost to the death, like Lehens' choice to actually cocoon Raptor there because he had Cyclone available. It actually seemed like a super sick instant decision by him where he's like, okay, we kill both of them this way, and this is the safest possible thing to do. Because your instinct is always going to tell you, like, oh, kill low health target, let's cocoon Kellen there, we guarantee the kill. But maybe he gets interrupted by the Cyclone, and then Kellen gets away just barely, and then, you know, obviously Raptor has the advantage in the fight. But because he doesn't kill Kellen, the ult goes off, and Raptor is able to just narrowly survive there. So Lehens sacrifices himself unintentionally in this exchange. This game has just been so wild. Obviously, look, this is the most recent replay. Gideon catches Kellen. And then look at the cocoon swap here onto Raptor, but he still gets the Cyclone off and can flash over the wall. And then Lehens goes to chase him, but gets hit by the second part of the Cyclone. And then Kellen has the steadfast, or not the steadfast, the Keeper's verdict to knock the Aurora away, so Fisher can't clean up the fight. It was actually really well played there by BNK, but I also feel like Lehens still had the right idea. I want to defend him there.
And the execute was so close to just killing him, right? Like, it says it's an execute. It should have executed. Wasn't able to do quite enough damage, and so Lehens looked a little bit silly in the end. But this is what you're going to have to do, right? Like, we've seen so many of our Elises just play fast and loose because you kind of have to. That's how the champion works. In the support role, your base damages are quite high. As Kuhn going to connect here, as Lehens once again demonstrating exactly what we were talking about.
It's fun to play Elise in situations like this because, yeah, you'll never 1v1 kill Vikla in this situation, but as a support with low eco, you know, you're like, well, I can actually take a ton of his health away. Aleona can't do that, so I'm going to take every chance I can get. I'm going to proc electrocute every moment I can. He has Zazax in this game as well, so that's all that extra damage coming through, and maybe that actually gives him just an extra edge, Fisher that is, in this sign lane to maybe get something done. Just looking for these angles constantly. That's why we've seen such high death games on Elise, where the Elise still wins, because she's often sacrificing herself for the greater team fight.
Yeah, and an interesting thing has occurred here as well. Diablo has gone Yuntal first, which is something I haven't seen just yet. Seen a fair bit of Kraken Slayer if they want a bit more physical damage, but Yuntal is a new one, has been buffed on this patch. As now Fisher looking to try and survive here. That is a Narnian ultimate from Gideon and a very dead Fisher, but still, Poppy's going to be on the floor, so a 1-for-1. Not too bad there for Nongshim as they are pushing in this mid lane at the same time. Jiu not going to let Diablo get in there without a fight, but it is going to be that mid wave cleared out, and Kingen is just continuing to split push. Eclipse is now done. See what he's going to be able to purchase for himself as he does go home, only a wave ahead of his Jace counterpart in clear.
I think that, you know, there's no plates anymore, obviously, and they're not going to be able to get this mid turret, so a trade up here for B&K because Victor picks up that second kill versus, you know, support grabbing a kill on the other side, or kill onto the support on the other side by the Sejuani. And, you know, the time in which you get with that turret in the bottom side, you know, Kingan's going to have on the Ambessa, that sort of stuff matters way less when you're not actually killing the turret. You see on the minimap, he stops channeling his back. He's like, okay, that's kind of a disaster over there, but I'm going to keep pushing. But he still gives all of that farm to Clear because there is no turret there. Clear can actually go get all of that. So, you know, it's still a gold lead here for Nongshim, but small little edges that B&K have across the board. Remember that a lot of that gold on a Sejuani versus a Victor, the Victor's gold is going to be way more valuable.
Yeah, very true. And I think B&K Furex might be able to get themselves a Herald because they have so much vision towards his top side. However, it is now just getting cleared out, and Nongshim are just going to walk up and start it. So oftentimes you'll see teams do a lot of work when it comes to setup, as Kellen is going to prove that you do in fact block the Spider Q by pressing W. That is going to work out very well to avoid him taking too much damage there, although it doesn't do a whole lot to a high health target. Is now Raptor looking for a wraparound, wants to stop Kingen from being able to get in here, but the public execution is a real dangerous one. Raptor just walks in and it's a highway robbery. Kingen, can you find an angle as Kingen's just going to move him out of there, but he's going to be dying. Raptor now going to get imprisoned, and he is the one that drew the short straw as he doesn't get over the wall there. Not quite an option. So the rest of B&K going to look to try and push this mid-wave out, lick their wounds a little bit and say, at least we got the Rift Herald, even if they weren't able to pick up the Eye.
Yeah, and I mean, there's 3 outer turrets still standing where it's going to be potentially useful. And watch this one more time. Raptor comes over here, use Warrior's Trickster just to steal it. Gideon actually gets blocked by Kellen. A lot of resources being put into this Poppy and consistently these fights is a little bit scary. I think if B&K were actually better set up for this fight, you know, it would have been way better for them. Unfortunately, they didn't have any pryos, so even though a lot of that damage and resource were put into Kellen, they end up winning the fight swimmingly, but don't end up stopping the smite from going over as Kellen.
Ooh, yeah, Lahan's going to just say, all right, well, if this is the situation, I will try and offer some damage back. Kingen moves up. They're not able to actually kill this pesky spider as, Lahan's, that was so cute. Going to stop him from being able to take him down by blast coning him away. And now the permafrost comes in. Kellen just going to get wrathed by the winter and will be taken down where he stands. This Poppy not necessarily working out for B&K thus far, but that was very sad for Kellen.
Yeah, really nice move there by Lahens to kind of just isolate him there, blast cone him into oblivion.
Is it crazy, but I think that Lahens is POM so far.
I think so.
He's my front runner. I know it's a 3-0-3 Zyra's public execution onto Vikla. He's going to have to flash, but that's not going to get him away from this Ambessa. Raptor chasing him down. Clear is going to very awkwardly teleport in, but will be able to grab a kill onto this Ambessa. Repel gets Lahens out of there, and Diablo now just standing awkwardly behind the turret. Raptor is going to move in, and the Cocoon is going to miss. And that will mean that Diablo takes down the Spider. B&K, they managed to grab that one, as now Kellen's dead again. Jiu going to collect another kill, and he's continuing to push here in this mid lane.
They have 6 grubs, so I mean, the push of this Xayah is actually relevant. Plus Fisher here in the top side, really working on this turret. It's a lot of relevant damage being done, even though it's a trade up in kills in that play bottom side. So Nongshim really just trying to brute force their way into these macro trades, which I think ultimately can work out for them, especially because the Xayah now has 4 kills. So we're looking at like Victor versus Xayah in this game. It's a low econ Aurora so far. We've seen so many big errors made in this game by BNK, where otherwise fights could have been a lot cleaner. At least in this situation, they do have the teleport, so you do see the gank come through, or I don't even want to call it a gank, but the response come through here from Clear to help bail them out. He picks up a ton of gold. Diablo can fall up from long range, and unfortunately, one of Elise's strengths is not being tanky. Another one is not really defending turret dives all too well because she only has 1 cocoon button. And
by the way, Lehens doesn't actually count that cocoon as a miss because he's still got the cleanse.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether it went completely the wrong direction or not.
Yeah.
So count it. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. If you wanted to flame Lehens for that one, you cannot. He got the summoner spell.
He still is definitely leading POM for me.
Yeah.
We're not done just yet, and I mean, I feel like a lot of the time with Nongshim...
How is this still voracious?
Yeah, well, it's calculated at 14 minutes, right? So...
Yeah, I guess.
At least unless they hadn't changed that. Assuming they haven't changed that, which I don't think it was in the notes. There were a lot of things that Otacon changed but weren't in the notes, let's just say. I don't really know exactly what they changed to make it better. Is Kellen
really needs to press Steadfast Presence a bit faster.
Yeah, he's a little bit slow on it today. But I feel like a lot of these fights for Nongshim have been like 1 step forward and then 1 step back. It's not 2 steps back, but I'm like, hey, maybe a little bit cleaner, and you guys have a bigger lead. A lot of the lead is in those turrets that they have. With the 6 scrubs they picked up, you know, that's pretty huge for them. And now they're just going to start Otacon here because there's no prio here for BFX whatsoever. No one's even nearby.
And how do you face check? Like, face checking an Elise is so frustrating. They're going to put down this control ward. That's going to try and get them in there as this is going down very low. Can Raptor get the steal? That's the question, because you cannot fight them after they get this buff. Keeper's Verdict comes down, but it's too late. The Cocoon is going to block Helen there as well as the public execution. Oh no, insult meet injury as BNK not only lose Otacon, but they also lose both their jungle and support. And Nongshim are going to be able to continue pushing with an inability to die.
Yeah, no, that is probably the straw that breaks the camel's back here for BNK.
And this camel was already walking with rickety knees, Wolf.
I thought maybe we could see it in a fair fight, BNK stand up to Nongshim, but it's just not going to happen anymore. And the funny part about it is both of the solo laners were just not involved in that exchange at all. Like, Clear went for a Hex Gate flank on this Jace, tank Jace. He's like, maybe I can get it done. You can see Vikla on the minimap when you'll be able to look at it if we have a replay. He's like, I got teleport, but that's a zero-sum game. I'm not going in there. You can see him like walk towards it. He's like, nah, I'm not showing up to this one. I'm sorry, you guys. Yeah. I'm not gonna.
Oh man.
Well, nothing's going right.
This means Jiu might die. As okay, Clear does get the control ward down. That means the Cocoon is not going to spell his death. And
so we already knew that there's no vision, stuff like that. Look at Vikla on the minimap.
Oh, that Cocoon, man.
Like, he's walking up and he's like, nah, I'm not going. I'm not going. And Jace also, you can see, Clear is like, I'm flanking, and he's like, actually no, I'm not joining. I'm gonna work on this mid turret. So it was just not a fair fight. They just didn't have vision. It was a good read from Nongshim, knowing how much control they had over the map, how many turrets they've taken off, and now, you know, at first it was just gold only they had from the turrets, but the extra control that gives them on the map is immense. And now that they have the Otacon buff on top of it, they can rip the last few of them away. And they're going to push hard here into the bottom lane and look for potentially a dive on the Clear.
Yep, Clear is going to take a bunch of damage here from Kingen, shields up most of it, and will continue to try and get some pressure down as there's the public execution. Clear manages to go to the skies, and speaking of to the skies, Keeper's Verdict sends away the Ambessa, but they're continuing to fight here. Oh, Jiwoo! That's that killer instinct we wanted to see! 2 kills ripped away from BNK, and then he just withdraws, goes back home as Fisher, now it's his turn to pop off underneath the inhibitor turret, and now it's just Vikla left standing. That is some Otacon value if ever I've seen it.
It certainly is. They don't get the inhibitor turret nor the inhibitor, but they did get a lot of gold. And now they're even further ahead in gold. And so I think that was a pretty efficient usage of the Otacon buff. If it was previous patch, you'd feel even better about it, but still, I think well worth it. Getting this kill, getting this turret and then getting several kills here with a really nice engage. Yeah, there's a Keeper's Verdict that knocks the Ambessa away, but kind of really helps Kingen out in this case, actually, since he was in a dangerous spot anyways. And then, yeah.
That is so satisfying. Watching Jiu make that decision.
And then Fisher here, too. He's like, no one's getting out alive, including me, but little bit of a overextension there, you could say. Like this one, I think the space will be a little bit less enthusiastic about, but everything up until that was pretty great.
Well, Lehens has found Vikla, and there's another Cocoon. God, this guy's very good at support Elise. It's like he's been playing it for like 11 years. As Nongshim continuing to push forward. Lehens as well, like in a lead. Yeah, finds that one with that ward over the wall. And Diablo takes 50% of his health bar. There goes the inhibitor turret. And Nongshim, I mean, their wallets are so incredibly huge. They are just kind of dropping it on them now. But still, they're doing it with style.
I mean, he's got Storm Surge and an Arm Guard and a needlessly large rod. He has so much money.
He's basically a mid laner, yeah.
Yeah, it's actually insane. Like, and this is, I talked about it earlier, how as a support you get to have that impact, you get to have fun, you get to hurt people on this champion. But when you're this fed, you really hurt.
Well, they're looking to try and kill Kingen here. Kellen will die if he tries to corral him any more than this. And you can see Kingen realized that public execution going to go down. Let's see whether the world champ can make his way out. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the world champ difference right there. It doesn't have to be just Wolf Glick that has it. As now Nongshim push in the mid lane, they're going to take another inhibitor. And this game is basically over, Wolf.
Yeah, I think it has been for a little while, but it felt like maybe when they were like 3,000 gold behind, like, oh, there's a team fight that could happen if they get to fight on even terms. But Nongshim just never let them have that fight. They've never given them any space, any vision. And as you can see here, I mean, once again, BNK are completely blind, trying to kind of leapfrog their way closer to the Baron. This is going to give Nongshim a free reset here. They have Hex Gates they can get over very quickly. And this is just Vikla trying to farm. Could have waited for the minions to come to him, but he lost some gold. He was very greedy here, and he is punished by the Spider. Well, Hens is Spider-Man, actually.
He actually is. It is very true. Elise is Spider Lady, and he is therefore Spider-Man.
Yes.
I think that's canon. So Vikla is just going to try and repair this bottom lane. That's not really going to work. Nongshim have a free Baron if they would like to get it. Gideon also winning a 1v1 against the Wukong is a sign of poor things to come. Especially, I mean, this Sejuani is so big, Wolf.
Yeah.
We were talking about the fact that like he's getting a bunch of money early and how that's not a good thing. I'm kind of feeling like maybe it is, as the first Cocoon is going to miss there, and that might spell the end of Lehens. He repels, Raptor is burning, and Elise just flashes away. Lehens he just walks. He's got those tap dancing shoes on, and he's feeling good about it as Jiwoo throws out the Feather Storm. That stops Diablo from killing him for a while. Does mean that he does go down, but BNK, I don't think they're winning this one. Public execution just for fun, but Kingen gets that shield, stays alive, and Gideon is never going to die again this game. His health bar is too big, and Fisher is done.
Stop the Baron. That's the good news.
Hey, nailed it. There you go.
The bad news is you did not stop a 6-scrub Aurora from wiping out majority of this Nexus turret. You see Kingen's got the teleport in as well. They are looking to end this one right here, right now.
Yeah, that is game one in the books here for Nongshim. Probably the most cathartic game for any Nongshim fan. If you are a Noodle Boys enthusiast, this is a good sign for things to come, because this is Jiwoo looking back on form. This is Fisher finding some angles. Gideon looking really, really good. Man, this is the Nongshim we were promised. This is the Nongshim with the upgrades that we saw on paper in Kingen and in Lehens being insane. This is what we were expecting, and finally we get to see it.
Even though I think they definitely could have shown a little bit more restraint at times, their aggressive approach to getting the topside control, to getting the Xayah into that lane with the Elise, into the Jace, grabbing that turret, grabbing basically both of those outers super early and pressuring mid constantly gave them so much prio on objectives, and they played a really good macro game through that snowball and made it very difficult for the Victor that had money through some of those kind of wonky exchanges, like where he's looking to fight. Vikla's like, I'm actually kind of accelerated, maybe we can fight, maybe in a longer fight with a good Wukong setup, I can do the damage, we have the Kai'Sa, we have that mobility, but they just never got to set up those fights because they couldn't see. And then Kellen kept getting picked because he had to face check, and there's an Elise there, and then you can't side lane into this anymore. The Ambessa threat is always a big problem. And I thought BNK might excel because of the chaos of this game. It didn't really come to pass.
What the heck? Gideon top damage!
Well, a little bit behind Vikla, but otherwise, yes. On his team.
On his team, yeah. That's absolutely insane. I'm so impressed. This Heartsteel Sejuani situation, that is out of control. So Vikla, yeah, got a lot of damage on his side, but it wasn't able to win out the game. A fun first one, though, in this best of three. We'll see whether BNK Furex can make it interesting. and take away a game number 2. We're going to go to a short break, then Digon and the boys have the space, and we'll be there for game number 2. See you soon.
이뻐. 옹 밀어줄게. 쳐. 있어. 얘네 못 나 치고 있어. 어때? 계속
딜러와.
계속 얘네 못 나. 쳐. 쳐.
우리 끝. 이거 빠야 될 듯.
얘네 옹부터. 옹 봐줘. 옹 잡았어.
데이터 볼게.
얘들아, 잡아.
데이터 볼게.
야, 잘 봐줄게.
나공 3초.
뭐 못해줘.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the space for the final day of the LCK Cup Group Stage. I am just normal Degon here, also known as Daniel, and joined by our two fantastic analysts. It is the Dan Analyst and Val Danalist. Welcome, gentlemen.
He's the Danalist.
And he's the Val
Danalist. That's because my name is Valdez, get it?
And that is Daniel Ox Harrison, Val Danalist and Danalist. We are... That's a good point. The superlative for most analysts that is about to happen right now. We're about to analyze everything with our brains and our names. That's a good point. So just remember to set the stakes from this last match. It is BNK Furex needing a victory to make it on into the play-in stage, and Nongshim will save the DN Automotive Freaks with the victory there. They are up 1-0 in that last one. Let's take a look at the draft, and here we go. It's time to analyze, everyone.
Yes. Put our analyst caps on.
Yeah.
I can only do that because I'm the analyst today.
Cap. I really dislike this Poppy pickup here. Maybe there was intent to flex it. Maybe there was, maybe there wasn't. But they end up putting a support into the Elise. It's just a terrible time. Like, Elise has the long-range cocoon, so you can stun without really getting up close to the Poppy. The Poppy completely flopped. You're not really disrupting the engage coming out from the Elise because she just, you know, burst full combos you without getting it to melee range. Doesn't have a dash you can really interrupt. And you don't have great setup for the Kai'Sa either. It's so conditional. Like, if someone's against a wall, then you can slam them into it. But you're not doing what like a Nautilus or a Rel would. So I think it just made lane really hard, and this game kind of just exploded from bot lane. You know, we also saw the Sejuani, which we kind of missed yesterday, just didn't see it really at all. Gideon had a really strong performance. You know, despite the fact Raptor was making things happen, Gideon just kind of power farmed ahead, ended up doing most damage on his team just because he was so fed with a Heartsteel. So yeah, a lot of things. I think the Poppy really stood out to me as like being a weak point in the draft, and then the game just kind of bled out through bot.
Yeah, for me, if Kellen was playing it really well, and we were talking about champion pool issues as well with Kellen, maybe he's like, okay, this is one of the things that I can play. And also Kai'Sa Poppy is something that is being played a lot nowadays, so we can make it work with a lot of practice, but they were not able to. Like the Xayah pick here, though. That was actually pretty good from the side of Nongshim.
Yeah, some would say maybe that Poppy and the Elise was a bad trade, something that they maybe can like think about for their first round pick next time. Let's take a look at the highlight number one here, and it was Xayah popping off early thanks to that first round pick, Elise.
I mean, he's got 100-0 to level 3. There's not anything you can do. At least if you're playing something like Leona, you can press W and be a bit tankier. And then in this play, a lot happened before this. You know, we saw Kai'Sa get chunked, we saw Elise get chunked, but so much skirmishing power coming out here. Gideon managed to take out the Wukong, and then Jiwoo playing this one really well, getting the kill on the Kai'Sa.
Yeah, the other part of this as well is that, you know, we've seen a lot of support Elise. It is kind of fan of the month pick right now. A lot of people are playing it from support. Lehens is one of the guys that actually is extremely well practiced on it, and I think he did a fantastic job of showcasing that today. He hit every single cocoon, basically. He was always replaying at the right time, and he got his team, especially his AD carry, very far ahead.
The thing is, because they went bot and they killed a Jace and got a bunch of plates there, they got plates top. Like, Jiwoo got 5 plates. He had a 2,000 gold lead at 14 minutes. You know, you can see it in front of you. When this happens in a game, it's just over. It's so hard to come back from this when you're playing, especially into a pick like Xayah, where, you know, there was nothing that really outranges her, and she has the safety net of her ult. It just meant that, like, you're kind of an unstoppable force already at 40 minutes into the game.
Yeah, made it very, very difficult for him to play, but it then led to our second highlight here at the Herald fight with that gold lead. Things just don't get any better for BNK Furex.
Yeah, so the thing about this is it's very desperate, right? They're behind already. Their AD carry, as we mentioned, just in a really rough spot, and they just try to force it. The steal is fine, you know, if you're sending Wukong in, that's fine. But Kellen, face checking the brush, straight into Elise, dies again. It's just free, and yeah, they got the Rift Herald, but they're not able to pick up the Eye, and the fight itself is just such a disaster that we had to get this highlight because this was the end of the game. This Rift Herald fight was where actually Nongshim just put the nail in the coffin.
Yeah, and I mean, you have such a strong front line with the fact that you have this Sejuani who's so tanky, level up on Wukong just from the power farming, and then you have Xayah just doing 1 million damage. So, you know, I think there's a lot of things that kind of went wrong in this game, but I think really you need to think about how your bot lane is going to interact. picking Poppy that early in the draft when the Elise is able to be come in as a counter, it's never going to work.
Yeah. However, BNK Fearex have yet to have won on the red side. Good thing for them. They move over to the blue side. What are you thinking priority-wise in terms of the draft here, Dan Analyst?
I mean, honestly, I just think ensure you have a better bot lane matchup. You know, Kellen is a player who's had some champion pool issues in the past, but we know he's obviously lent on stuff like Renata before. Just, you have to really think about how we're going to interact in the 2v2. And if you end up in a situation where the 2v2 is rough, you really need to work hard to avoid matching into that, whether it's by lane swaps. But, you know, I think especially into a player like Lehens, it's kind of a complete opposite where Kellen was, you know, very proficient on a small pool and Lehens has such a wide pool he can work on.
All right. Well, there you have it. We'll see what BNK Fearex will be able to do for their next game. To get into the next game, let's send it back on over to our casters, Atlas and Wolf.
Thank you very much, D. Valden Analysts. That was absolutely fantastic. I, for one, very much enjoyed the name tags. It was very, very cool. One thing that I didn't think got mentioned enough was the Sejuani damage. I wanted to know how and why he was doing all of it.
Heartsteel was a big part of it, I think. But yeah, he just...
And also, I guess, winning.
He was winning, and like he just constantly, he was never the focal point, right? No one was shooting at him because they needed to kill the real prio targets, but they couldn't. And so all the while, he just kept hitting people over and over and over again.
There was a lot of hitting people, yeah.
He had a lot of aggressive fights in the early game, too, which stacked up Sejuani's damage more than she would normally have in the early game because she was constantly involved in a lot of those tussles topside. One thing I think we could say pretty comfortably about that last game was there was not really a great lane to be in, especially with Kellen playing aggressively and kind of walking into Lehens' cocoon range. You were never going to win that one. You wanted to make sure that Jace wasn't going to get completely blasted, but then after you lost topside, he got blasted anyways. We just see a better lane setup here in general for BNK going into the second draft. They have blue side, and we'll see what Kellen wants to go to, because it's been mentioned a lot, but he was definitely the weak link in that first game.
Yep, it's not been the first time for this guy as well. He certainly needs to catch a break here in the LCK Cup. We'll see whether this game number 2 is going to do it for them. Blue side and game 2, two very good signs. Because it has been, this situation is 100% of their wins. They've managed to do it 3 times thus far against teams that have been pretty good here in the LCK Cup. So this is their chance, this is their opportunity, and I expect this to go to 3 games. Let's check out this draft to see how it is going to happen. As Yone and Rumble both taken away from Fisher and Kingen, certainly 2 of their best performing champions as the obligatory bans come in from Nongshim.
Kalista's still there. Obviously, Ashe, Varus is still, both of those champions are still available. They weren't played in game 1, so priority may change towards 80 carries here on blue side for this one. As looking at another ban here, see what they do, lock away. The Rumble is gone already. Cassante could be the angle here they're fishing for with that Rumble ban and the Gnar ban. It's like, clear's like, ban Cassante or we will first pick it. And as a result, Nongshim will probably ban it, and then they'll get their pick of either the Ashe or Varus if that's the angle they want to go for. The problem with that is that the other one is open on the other side. So Varus would be the preferable pick for Diablo in this case if the Cassante ban comes through, which it does. So my expectation is that's where we're headed here with this first pick. Vi, however, also available.
Yep, Vi and Zyra are the 2 champions that snuck through the ban phase based on what Nongshim took away on blue side last time. So this does make a fair bit of sense. The Zyra ban is just because Raptor has been gravitating to it in previous metas and has been very, very good at the champion. Gideon, not really too phased though. They're just going to insta-lock the Xin Zhao. And there is the Ezreal as well, keeping the color coordination. You like to see it.
I think you really need to grab either the Ashe or Varus here as BNK to... I mean, the Ashe can follow up on the Vi ult really well. Varus is great into Ezreal, so you can kind of win the mid matchup when they move out of lane and then farm in mid. And, you can also crush a top laner with the Varus as well, or Ashe. So either of those feel like a really strong point you can grab in this draft. The Azir is solid here too, has some great synergy with the Vi, very strong mid-jungle duo. But I don't want to see another Kellen lock in here. The Poppy was a little bit early, was a little bit out of place last time around. And I think giving Diablo the power in this part of the draft before they lose any ability to crush that Ezreal is definitely a big angle to take here on blue side.
Yeah. Could be just a Varus lock-in, but instead they're considering heading for a blind Jax. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that one as well. And I was thinking already that the Azir looks reactionary, right? Like, it looks like we can see the Xin Zhao Ezreal composition. We've seen this with Azir so many times. Let's take it away from them so that they cannot add that to the comp. But then you miss out on that incredible synergy that you can get from a Talia, from an Ahri, from a LeBlanc, from so many of these champions that can pair alongside the single target lockdown of a Vi so much. As Fisher just cycles through a bunch of stuff and then locks in a Gargoyle that's going to feel absolutely fine alongside the Azir in lane, and will then be able to augment the Xin Zhao going in over and over again. The thing that's great about the Galio as well, not only is it flexible, theoretically you could play it on the top side of the map at the same time, but it functions as a way to amplify Kingan's ability to carry. Yeah. And he has been carrying on this team.
It's so true. It really plays very well into the aggressive.
There's the Gangplank ban.
Exactly. That was the next thing I was going to mention, right onto your point. But also facilitates keeping an already safe backline alive against Vi, Azir, and the Jax. So the Ezreal is such a great pick here. And they're looking to potentially ban, I think, that Varus away in this situation. And see if they end up locking that one away. They already took away the Renata, which can be problematic into this type of draft. Going for the Zeri instead. Interesting. Zeri does follow up on that type of aggression very well.
Very much a Diablo champion as well.
Yeah.
Especially playing it in like a whole lot in Challenger. That was sort of one of his things. So just taking away comfort, I guess, on both counts.
They got rid of the Rumble already. The Gnar is gone. Cassante is banned. So you know, you're feeling pretty comfortable about your setup for the Jax right now, regardless of what Kingan's playing. The GP is gone, so that part is good, but, you know, will you be able to get the same sort of control in the bottom lane or in the lane swap against said top laner? The Varus kind of fits the bill for me in this situation. I think Ashe could be quite strong with the Vi setup. They have two. Both are good, but based on the bans here, it looks like they just don't think Diablo is going to do it. And this deters that Varus pick.
But also, like, look at this as far as we're going to drop on top of you and murder you composition. Misfortune is exactly not what you want to be playing right now. You want to be playing something with 1,000 dashes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there aren't very many of those left available, and Diablo's still going to lock it in. Oh, this is...
I mean, look...
Oh, okay, there's the Shen. Lehens is just, he's just letting us know. By the way, I'm the Shen guy too. I was expecting Shen or Yuumi because both of them can just drop down with the Galio.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. So, if you look at BNK's draft in isolation, it's a pretty strong draft. It's got a lot of engage. It's got easy, kind of guaranteed follow-up damage with Misfortune. It's got late game scaling with the Azir. It's got a lot of great parts here. And you look at the other side, and you're like, okay, there's not as much late game damage. The problem is that, you know, any single target, whether it's the Misfortune who's very vulnerable, not mobile, and is, you know, stationary while channeling her ult, and the Azir who's pretty squishy, it's really easy for Camille to lock down the Azir and then get Shen ulted, and then get Galio ulted, and it's never going to be a surviving Azir. It's never going to be a surviving Misfortune, but you can also just kind of focus on the Azir instead and go, well, Misfortune isn't going to do that much long-term damage when we're going into cleanups in the fight. She's more of a bullet-time combo-oriented champion in this draft with the Rel. And I just feel like this time I really like Nongshim's chances. I mean, their draft is not as standard meta, just like it wasn't really in game one, but it's so specifically good into what BNK put together. And BNK don't have hard lane pressure really anywhere. The Azir can get a small edge, the Jax is going to be fine, but I was really hoping for something to punish this Ezreal before it hits its 2-item spike, and I just don't think they have that.
I don't really see it either. I think so much is on Raptor's shoulders. Like, this guy has to get around and make this Vi work in the early game. Otherwise, the combo is going to be scary. Let's get into it. All right, Lehens gets to say, trust me, I'm a doctor, which is absolutely terrifying if you know anything about how Lehens plays the game. And Kellen, he is going to learn, as he does spot all of Nongshim making their way over. Thankfully, isn't going to move any further forward, but information given over to Nongshim about the location of the bottom lane. And as I say bottom lane, they are in the bottom lane. That does make, you know, no lane swap just yet.
So outside of Korea, we have a few of those like doctor dramas that are pretty popular, like House and Scrubs.
Yep.
There's probably a few.
The Good Doctor was actually remade as well in Korea.
That was quite good.
Dr. Foster.
But in Korea, we have about like 72 medical dramas. And I feel like it's a huge opportunity for maybe a Shen medical drama. Maybe the second season of Arcane will actually be just a Shen medical drama. Koreans will watch it, man. I promise you.
And it's not even the second season, because you know how they're doing like different like storylines and like going into all sorts of different things. You just run it alongside.
Yeah.
You know, and you could have Ken in there as well. There's a whole skin line, right?
Oh, for sure.
A Kali there. Like the nurse's Kali skin is a real thing. Oh man, that's so cool. There's a medical drama that's ready to go.
They could add so many other champions to the skin line as well. Those skins sell well. I mean, I'm just saying.
Riot. I mean, we got to get this email.
Yeah.
I talk about writing the emails all the time. This one has to happen. Lens and Ju, this is not a whole lot of power in the lane necessarily, but the Shadow Dash is very, very strong if you can connect it.
Another thing I want to talk about in this draft, because we've seen this matchup between the Jax and the Camille so much, and it's volatile in what it means for the game so often because whoever gets a huge lead has the side lane power, and both these champions are so incredibly powerful in sides. But even if, for some reason, Kingen ends up falling significantly behind in this game, what he has is 2 global champions that can impact that side lane. So even if he's behind, he has the ability to be kind of amped up by Lehens and Fisher in this composition. So it's hard for Clear to really push that advantage, even if he gets a significant lead here. So they even kind of have that backup angle for the Camille. If the Camille gets ahead, it's a disaster because she has backup when she's killing that lane and pushing even harder.
Well, Kellen doesn't have Aftershock for a few seconds, as Lehen's just lying in wait. Level 2 gained here by all of our bottom lane players, as Ju is going to be able to even out the trades, both of them eating through their potions. But BNK standing their ground just fine, only a few CS in it, and not really too much to worry about. His double up not really doing too much there to Lehens either. So as far as this bottom lane is concerned, a lot of what Shen wants to do is affect the map later on. It's not necessarily for the lane that you pick this champion, but Lehens has made it work a lot of times in the past. He's in fact played 30 games of Shen support thus far. He's like a lot. He loves locking this champion in.
He's a big fan of it. I feel like if there was a Silas angle for support for him, there was Shen on the other side, he'd be like, I'm playing Silas support so I get that Shen ult.
Oh, he would love that, yeah.
He just loves Shen ulting, and he's got good decision making. Nice buffer on the counter strike there from Kingen. This matchup is not going to really explode until we see junglers up here.
Yep, there's a lot of like you press your E button, I press mine, which is sort of the mind game with this particular matchup. Always been a fun one, and always been like what feels like the ultimate skill matchup for our split pushes of the top lane is Jax versus Camille.
Yeah, Jax Camille, Jax Fiora, these types of matchups you really enjoy, but you have to play it so carefully because one error and you're just like, I'm not playing the game anymore.
Nope. And as soon as one of them gets ahead, it becomes a big problem, which is, again, why so much is on Raptor's shoulders, right? Like, if he is going to affect any lane, I think top lane is really, really important, but getting Vikler ahead, like, that could be another pressure point that BNK can manufacture for themselves, but I think so much about this relies on them doing that as, that's no longer the world champ difference there. That is King and proven he's still just a guy.
I didn't want to cut you off there, but I was like, I think someone has to make some sort of comment about this.
Don't worry, Twitch chat is right there for you. Don't worry, that's a minus quite a few different numbers that I assume are in the chat.
Yeah, it's okay. It happens to the best of us.
Yep. Ju back down here towards the bottom side, and Nongshim with a little bit of a passive lead at the very beginning. As the first dragon going to be that of a mountain. See what the next is. We did get 2 Chemtech souls yesterday for what felt like the first time all tournament, which is kind of crazy.
We have had a lot of Infernal and Hextech, it feels like, and
not enough Cloud.
We
did get one yesterday, so I'm not too upset.
We had a Hextech in game 1, so see what ends up transpiring here is we do have...
Is Ju going to be okay? Oh yeah, he is. As almost in leaf strike range, so not going to be punished quite for the arcane shift forward.
Good spacing. The question is, what do BNK get on the cross map here? You see Kellen wrapping around. He's level 3 though, and that's a Camille.
The problem is that with a Galio, he can always just be there. I feel like it's a bit of a cheat code here for Nongshim. And like when Lehens hits level 6, Stand United is going to provide even more support, and you can sort of cheat your way around the map.
He's so close to 6 as well here, just a few minions away, and I don't think they can make this happen in time. He's so confident too. He's like, you guys cannot do this.
He was in turret range. That double up actually picks up the aggro, and then Kingen immediately lands the hook shot. It's getting more and more dangerous as Nongshim moving over like a unit.
Just so
fast to get onto these grubs.
So fast on the rotation. You know, no punish there on the bottom side. Now,
oh god, Lehens. Kellen is going to be able to sweep him. So there we go, but Lehens once more. There's the Shadow Dash flash! And they all pile on top of Raptor. He's taken down Diablo. Gonna have to cleanse as Kingen says, you're not taking part in this fight. And it should be 3 grubs going over to Nongshim as well. They'll take the first blood at the same time.
And they didn't have to use the Hextech ultimatum. They didn't have to use the Galio ult.
Yep, they've still got that combo of buttons as Clear wants to try and do something. Lehen's just going to dash his way over the wall, and that is going to be that. So there is the full round of grubs. That is going to be 2 objectives in quick succession here for Nongshim, and they are just picking up where they left off.
I mean, fantastic rotation of play. 3 grubs means 2/3 of that objective feat of strength. They got first blood as well, so they're on their way for that one as well. And this is Lehen's taunt, the flash play into the taunt from Fisher. You are just not getting out as Raptor, and Diablo has to cleanse. Loses 2/3 of his health bar here. Is going to be vulnerable on any sort of follow-up contest with the Hextech ultimatum still being available. Nongshim win bottom side, rotate faster, get top side, and Kellen was trying to make something happen on King, and they were slow on the play. They get nothing there, and they're just, you're not supposed to lose this hard on both sides of the map, but Nongshim are winning everywhere.
Yeah, and Lehens is taking a crab because River Shen is real and alive here in the LCK, and we love to see. Never mind, Gideon's going to be able to take it. Damn. I mean, getting it started for him. I was ready to believe.
It's okay.
River Shen.
It was just a River Shen reference.
Ah, yeah. Right. And he was in the River and Shen, so technically still River Shen. As, yep, Counter-Strike, the button was pressed, and that means it's on cooldown, and Kingen is going to have a bit of an advantage in this moment, but away from walls, which is pretty good. Oh, no!
Oh, no!
Oh, God. Different screen, please, as Kingen immediately punishes him for it. I mean, stop it. He's already in trouble, Kingen. As Clear, I mean, he's still going to be able to farm. Does have the wave pushing into him, so he's out of danger.
I mean, we're just not seeing really any punish here. Like, Raptor is trying to clear vision. He's going to try to take red buff. They're trying to use their mid-prio, which is slight, by the way. It's not even that strong, but they can't actually punish Kingen here on the top side. And
if Kingen's strong as well, Wolf, it's like so hard.
I know. It's looking like a disaster here.
Well, True Shot Barrage is going to soften up Diablo here just a little bit. Mystic Shot's not quite landing just yet, but the bottom lane is just even. No worries there on either side. Well, I mean, there are worries because that's a misfortune, and it's making a lot of people quite unhappy. Just in general, I've seen a lot of people just not really like Misfortune right now. She feels like a little bit of a crutch picked up by some of our bottom laners. As Jiu, Arcane Shift going to counteract that ultimate quite nicely as the barrier was invested. He still wanted to go toe-to-toe and does lose out as far as that is concerned, but not going to be too worried as Lehens is going to turn up. And he now has the Spirit's Refuge as well that he can provide for Jiu. So if these auto-attack battles do start coming in, can be a little bit of a worry. And with Jax there, like, who does like doing a few autos and stuff like that, I mean, the Shen does do a whole lot of work.
He really does. And, you know, Fisher was actually in a position to where he could have actually potentially gone over there and looked for an ult in to trap them if they had stayed any further. Kingen's totally fine here.
Yeah, there's a lot of these Counter-Strikes that are just kind of going to the wayside. And it's not that Kingen's hard punishing or anything like that, and is actually still behind in farm. But still, we're seeing that he's just getting through the lane just fine.
My concern is that there's not a big enough lead really anywhere. Obviously, there's a big farm lead for Raptor right now, and there's a slight Misfortune lead that you naturally get in this laning phase. So we didn't have the swap to come through. We did have that isolated Jax Camille, the normal top go off. And the Azir is, you know, in a situation where he wants to be ahead, but he's down a kill. But that's fine. But you really need to get this ball rolling before Israel starts to get towards the 20-22 minute mark, hits those 2 items, and is looking to pop off with an insane front line that he has, with guaranteed lineups for his skill shots. I mean, that's the thing about Israel. He's a skill shot champion.
Comp. This is a 2-item comp that wants to press R and all pile in on one target. We saw Raptor suffer the fate of that, and I feel like Nongshim are only just warming up as far as what this composition does want to do. Kingen wants to kill Vikla. I can feel it in my bones.
Yeah, the gold lead basically is actually a deficit compositionally for B&K. They need more. They need a bigger advantage. So starting these grubs, they do have prio. They're down on grubs. They need these so desperately. But we can start to see some R buttons pressed here for Nongshim if they can group up.
Yep, Fisher, not too worried about what Clear's doing right now, but the grubs are still being fought by Gideon.
They lost control.
Yeah, they did lose control. I was going to say, I was pretty sure it was a blue health bar that was over there. So it's going to be 5 grubs, but no feat of strength to be picked up here for Nongshim. The denial does come in from Raptor, doesn't overstay his welcome. But this is the problem. If you're playing to like get some scraps, that's not really what you want to be doing right now. You mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of scaling, right? It's weird talking about Azir and Jax as if like it's not quite going to work, but it does feel like Nongshim have so many answers for later on in the game.
Exactly. When everyone presses R on the Azir, how scaled is he really if he's in the Death Chamber?
Yeah.
That's the concern I have. Because yes, if you say, well, Azir is great late game, well, not if he's dead, and I am concerned he will not be alive.
Well, here's a Stand United, ladies and gentlemen. This is what this composition does. It CCs you and kills you.
Yeah.
And you can't do anything about it.
And that's the thing about the Jax. You're like, oh, I'm in the side lane, I win these. You don't win these because it's always a 1v2 unless you have somebody with you.
It's so much taunting.
Yes.
They've got double taunt. That's not a very common CC in this game. It's looking common in this game, though, as there's another combo with a True Shot Barrage. Lehens doesn't win that 1v1, though, so he's going to have to back away. Still a fair bit of damage, and certainly looked cool.
It did look really cool, and we do see BNK are going to take this dragon, so it's a win for them. Teleport does come over to the top side as we see Clear return.
Man, I mentioned it, and it appeared.
You willed it.
The Chemtech Soul. As Orcs is here, Susja in the chat, please.
Fisher does have ultimate, but he's in the top lane, has teleport, so it would take a lot of resources to protect Kingen here if this dive does get committed to.
And no Stand United. This means that Kingen is somewhat vulnerable, but he does have the ultimate. Can they chain the CC? The answer is no.
They can't get anything, Atlas. There's nothing for this team.
Yeah, and they might even lose more as the bullet time is going to soften up Kingen. Didn't have a target that he could utilize in order to go untargetable, so actually good use of that one from Diablo, but I mean, you don't really get too much out of it. Flash does get invested there by Kingen earlier on, so they take something away. I'm going to have a look at this one more time. Let's see how much gameplay Clear is allowed to do.
Let's see how much gameplay Lehens does.
Yep.
Press R.
Well, that was the knockup, and he came down, and then, yeah, and pressed E. He pressed E?
Sure.
As well.
All right, that's fair.
The E was pretty good, and he was also, he's here trying to steal away a red buff. Lehens woke up this morning and said, I'm in the mood for an interview.
Yeah, and I think so he's going to get it.
He just decided, like, I'm POM today. Boys, this is what's happening. And he's going to get it if they win this game, I guarantee you. This is just... This is the Lehens that we saw, like, what was the final that Lehens basically solo won? That was relatively recent.
Oh, the MSI one?
Yeah, he just sometimes does it. He just is the guy sometimes. And he's also the other guy sometimes as well. But today, oh man, he is him.
Well, it was mentioned by the space, it's been mentioned by us a little bit, but you can't draft like this unless you have a Lehens in your bottom lane. You know what I mean? Like, you can't play the double global, jump on top of people, crush side lane with Camille comp unless your support player is really good at Shen. And Shen hasn't really been meta for a very long time in the support role. We've seen it as a niche pick, right? When Lehens picks it as a niche pick. And it's just the fact that Nongshim is playing to his strengths finally here. It's at the end of the group battle stage, but I feel like they didn't do index into this as hard as they are today. It's great to see. Like, it's exciting.
Well, Stand United now going to be invested, and Clear was like, I was enjoying the 1v1. And Shadow Dash doesn't actually connect. Another Empower would have killed Kingen. Not quite executed correctly there on the side of Nongshim. Still, with the Stand United, Kingen's going to survive. No harm, no foul.
It's a win for BNK because they got Lehens' ultimate.
They did.
And that is, you know, where the good news stops.
Ooh, that was a nice Emperor's Divide there from Vikla. Now the Sand Soldier's getting some work done, of course. Fisher is able to take magic damage quite comfortably, so isn't going to die just yet, but with some assistance could be a problem. Justice Punch going to be blocked, as at least has a small taunt there to stop the Azir from doing too much more. So should be able to march his way out of here, but control of the top lane going to be important as Kellen comes on over, picks up the wave.
Stopping these backs is pretty huge, actually, because he's going to get a ton of damage done to that turret. That may be the first turret of the game here going to BNK from that play. So nicely done by Vikla. A little bit greedy there by Fisher, and we'll get pushed out, and they're going to rush this one down. You can see in return, Kingen is trying to do the same thing, but there's a lot of defensive members of BNK down there to stop that from happening. Teleport will not be canceled. But it doesn't save the turret either.
No, it doesn't. And in fact, there's a new turret, and it's not the one of Fisher's. So a very confusing little array of plays as the Gargoyle is sort of thrown around like a ragdoll, but is going to survive because he does have a lot of health. but otherwise still going to lose the turret, lose that feat of strength as well as B&K are able to lock that one down. But 1 kill and 1 objective, and Nongshim have the sandals.
Yeah, so it's a big win here for B&K, but it's alone not enough. And that's kind of been the story of a lot of this early game here for B&K, but they're getting some small victories, right? And it's part of the power of the Azir that has that early Nashor's Truth, how quickly he could take turrets out. You know, Fisher down a teleport, that's huge as well, even though he is, you know, semi-global with his ultimate. Just having that side lane on lock right now feels really good because Vikla has teleport advantage. And we get to these next 2 objectives. I mean, they get the Herald out of this as well. And B&K definitely have a real fighting chance to actually win some team fights before this comp really just starts pressing R and Ezreal has 2 items and everybody dies. If you can get some map control, those combos become a little bit more difficult to execute. If Kingan's trying to flank to set up his ultimate, but then gets caught in said flank and gets Emperor's Divided, for example, or ulted by Raptor, there are definitely ways to win this game, not in terms of necessarily the scaling damage, but in pick potential with this Vi, with the Jax, with the Rel combo potential. You can absolutely win fights, and B&K are keeping themselves in this after what was a very rocky start to the game.
Yeah, and Nongshim do need to execute well to make this composition work, right? Like, we're talking about this as if Diablo is never going to be able to do damage because we feel like playing Misfortune in a 5v5 scenario should be next to impossible with the fact that Gideon goes in and then there's, you know, the Gargoyle lands on top of you, there's Kingan finding a flank angle, all these sorts of threats that a Misfortune can't really mitigate, but they still have to do it.
This is a really cool setup here, though, because they're going to crash this into mid turret. Clear is threatening topside. Yes, they lost the bottom turret, but you can see Vikla has teleport. He's actually defending the bottom turret there. This is a really good map play here for B&K, and they lose a dragon for this, but I don't think they care.
Well, that is going to be the taunt coming down. Clear should be able to get rid of this turret, but it takes so long. Clear will be taken down there in the Thunderdome now. Justice Punch is served to Raptor, but he is going to be able to make it out with the Vault Breaker. Vikla with a defensive ultimate, but Lehens just Shadow Dashes him, and no Sun Disc is going to protect you from that. As Nongshim, they can always collapse like this, and I feel like B&K were playing around this Stand United cooldown so beautifully. But as soon as they don't, we learn why this composition's so hard to play.
I mean, this could have looked so different if the Jax is able to get like 2 more autos off just a little bit faster. This whole scenario looks different because maybe then he can actually help set up for this fight. I mean, look at how low this turret is, and the taunt comes through. Can't hit the turret, can't hit the turret, can't hit the turret, and then like
another taunt.
Yep,
oh,
and then
God.
the Galio ult on top of everything, and then their Misfortune is not here. So Kellen's like, oh, we could do something, and they have an Emperor's Divide, right? The teleport advantage that the Azir had from bottom lane. They have so many pieces here. They're just like a sliver off of having an amazing team fight after already making such a good macro play. But
I mean, I think that they're like playing World of Warcraft, you know, with 2 tanks in a raid group. They're like constant taunting, and over again.
Lehens just says, I'm the big bro. I'm the older brother. And that's a literal translation of what he said there, and
yeah,
this game he is. Still, I thought leading up to that moment, great macro though from B&K, really good usage of their teleport advantage, playing the map, but you're just always going to be down when your support has that ability to teleport himself and turn a fight.
He's 2 levels above Kellen as well. Like, Lehens is really, he's really having a game. This is the Lehens that we wanted to see on Nongshim, and it is finally working. They're going to have to figure it out, though, as far as closing this game out. 2,000 gold is their lead. Currently, they do manage to pick up the feats of strength as well, as Atakan is going to be on the top side of the map, as he does appear. I assume it's Voracious. As Lehens, I mean, all good things must come to an end, right? And so he will be taken down. Not quite sure what he was really doing there, as Diablo's going to be able to take down this turret.
That's a lot of gold.
Not going to connect, and yeah, you're exactly right. Sometimes you cast a curse, sometimes it's Lehens. I'm not entirely sure. You could blame us. You could just accept that it's Lehens.
And right now, I mean, there's a big advantage in terms of map control to B&K. They're not in a gold lead, and Nongshim are down just 1 turret, but critically the mid turret is gone. And this means that you can flank and crush King and insides, even though he has his global friends. You can collapse on this and take out this outer turret relatively easily. Clear will get away with this back, it looks like. Lehens just clearing a ward and goes for a taunt on this one, actually. So
he was just fighting Kellen for a long time.
Yeah, that was kind of weird. I want to give him a bit of a down. I'm like, oh, he's got to clear an award, then he gets popped, and then he just decides to stay for some reason.
Yeah.
he's probably like telling Gio, like, why didn't you come? And Gio's like, I'm not inting, man.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you, if you want to keep fighting there, you go for it. That was a bit bizarre.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I guess it's just a bit Lehens. And it's fine. Doesn't really affect the game too much, but getting that out of turret in mid lane certainly is important, as Kellen thinks he might have found Fisher here. Winds of War go down. There's another taunt to stop the rest of the engage. And Gideon's going to be here, but now Fisher might have to go home. Does elect to do so.
This is a 2-item Vi, you know, and the Galio build doesn't offer you a whole lot of armor, and obviously he already has the cleaver, so you do rip through that Galio health pretty quickly as Raptor, so every time you encounter him like that, you can really push him out of a side. That's going to get his teleport too.
Yep. Trisha Barrage is going to spot what's going on around this Otacon. Spots that there is a control ward there. As once again, they're diving on top of Lehens, but this time he's got Gideon there, and now the rest of the teammates turn up. Teleport coming forward. Fisher Justice punches his way out. They get a teleport out of B&K, but good disengage.
The tempo here for B&K is just immense. They get the teleport out of Fisher, they get the ult out of Fisher, they're faster on the play. Kingen also TPs, but isn't able to set up that flank like he wants to. They get chased away by a 2-item Azir, who hits really hard in these scenarios, so you can't really mess around with trying to rotate back in and going for that Kingen collapse like they hope to. Speaking of Kingen...
Okay, Diablo was out of vision, and so Kingen didn't know that he could have potentially killed a Misfortune.
And, I mean, once again, Nongshim grouping here towards the top side of the map.
Vikla. Oh, Vikla is in so much trouble. Fisher is going to spot him out, but the teleport, that's going to scoot him out of there.
But that gives a huge amount of prio for Otacon right now. B&K need to rotate fast. Clear does not have teleport. This is a huge problem.
Well, yeah, and Vikla definitely doesn't have teleport because he just used it to get out of the way of right here where he wants to be. As now Kingen looking for an opportunity. Stands United comes down. Emperor's Divide does absolutely nothing. And down goes Raptor. Kellen not sure what he's doing as I look back towards the rest of the fight. Hookshot not going to get Vikla, but now he's out of the fight as well. Clear standing in amongst it, but none of his friends are around. And Nongshim just going one after the other. And Clear survives for way longer than he would like to, but now 2 of the damage dealers are up, but no one else.
I mean, Vikla, he alone would have to rip through these health bars here if they're going to contest, so they just simply opt out. Even though everyone's super low on the side of Nongshim, Lehens is going to take some damage here. They're going to have to juggle the aggro. Meanwhile, you see Vikla pushing into that inner. They're going to try to take down this dragon, but the Otacon is way more important here. Vikla whiffing that ultimate is so massive. I think if he had saved it there and had at least hit Lehens, but like we had actually gotten a high value setup there, maybe they could have actually stopped that objective. But man, I was talking about how they had such good tempo, and they threw it all away. I mean, Vikla having to teleport to escape here just guarantees Otacon goes over. And yeah, this is kind of a disaster. Kingen has the shield, the ult here doesn't hit anybody, and Vikla is all of their damage right now, essentially, and so he's not able to actually long-term fight here because he's just shoved out of this fight by that Camille. Even though Clear buys time here, he's not hitting anybody. Vikla's not hitting anybody. He's like, I'm a zero, want to reach over and hit him, but we just don't have a front line anymore. We don't have a Vi. The Jax is gone and alone, and you know, he could have, a lot of teams would have actually just gone over there and tried to stop them, but he was like, it's too risky. We're just going to get the mid-inner and back away, but that means Nongshim have Otacon with their double global, with the Camille, and they're looking to start really taking that map control back. I mean, they already have it now, but they're going to probably have it permanently.
Baron's up in 10 seconds time. They've got Otacon for another minute and a half. This is so high value. Justice Punch to stop Clear from doing anything at all, as Fisher is just dancing around the river. And here comes Baron. Perfect timing, says Nongshim. It's 7-1 as far as kill score is concerned. You can see the gold is really not a whole lot in it, to be perfectly honest, but Nongshim have really had B&K's number all day so far. And this comp doing exactly what we expected it to do. Nongshim piloting it really, really well at the same time. Justice Punch not quite landing. But honestly, Fisher has had a great day as well. This Galio performance has been phenomenal.
It's really good. I want to see him play it more.
Yeah, me too. This is the Nongshim that we wanted to see, and I'm just so glad that it's finally here. As they do back away from the Baron, they do want to pick up a B&K member who, a straggler, and that might be Kellen, not tagged by the last Mystic shot there, will be able to make his way out, but Nongshim.
Critically, Kellen does not have flash, so his ability to engage on this composition is significantly limited by that lack of summoner, so it's hard for him to set up a combo for Misfortune. Vikla has his ult and can do a ton of damage, but it's closing the gap that's so difficult. Now they're just kind of sitting on a Sun Disk, and this is once again Nongshim starting this up with vision control, and someone's going to have to go in. Someone's going to have to face check. And, I mean, you have no information to set up a combo. Kellen has to be the guy.
Well, they do have information on where Kingen is, but Kellen is still likely to die. Gets the Magnus Storm off, as now Gideon with that Crescent Guard trying to keep himself safe. Heroic entrance going to bring Fisher over there. The Winds of War as well, as Clear's going to go down. There's a beautiful taunt. Yeah, Misfortune can't play the game. That was never going to be a thing. Raptor trying to flash, but it's a triple for Jiwoo, and he's even going to let the Vi live because Nongshim just want to take apart the base of BNK, or maybe they changed their minds. They want a purple buff. They can take anything.
Well,
the world's their oyster.
Yeah, they're going to take a purple buff and then take away the base.
Yeah.
So they're going to get the Baron Gold.
It's
and
the
then
order
power
I messed
menus.
up, I guess, yeah.
And we've been giving Kellen a lot of flack for his performance in this series. In this case, I'm a little bit, I kind of feel like the team should have been more with him on setting up, because he's base checking there and setting up that ward, but he can instantly ult. If the team is there, maybe they can get something out of it. He gets his ult off. It's not the greatest one, but also the follow-up was very late. And then obviously with all of the tools that Nongshim had that we've been talking about all game long, they just crushed the fight.
And they've got a million buttons that can CC all of the carries. And I think that's why Vikla and Diablo haven't been able to follow up, because they have to wait for so many cooldowns to be not available. Because otherwise they can't walk up, because they instantly die in a chain of CC that lasts like the entire game length.
And like when you think about the Emperor's Divide value into everybody collapsing on one place, you're like, oh, well, that would be sick. I mean, you just push all of them away. They don't come in all at the same time. It's like the Camille comes first, then the Shin comes, then the Galio comes, and all the while you're waiting for those big globals to land, you're dead. Like, you can't wait for that.
But also, they come in with a shield, and then a Shen taunts you for half your life. Like,
it's horrible.
It is frustrating, but if you're a Nongshim fan, you're pretty happy with it. Now you can see BNK is looking a little bit desperate. 5,000 gold behind now. The Rebel Baron power play sitting at close to 1,600, but that is only going to extend as Kingen looks to take down his first inner turret on this top side. Kellen once again out of position, and no way that you can be walking around trying to get vision at this stage of the game.
And for the DN Freaks, this is great news. You know, I mean, they're looking at potentially just getting into play-ins here off of Nongshim's victory, and, you know, they earned that win that they got, and that's the difference maker. And on the other side, BNK, they're in control of their destiny, but really struggling here in this series. A must-win for them. It's not over till it's over, but it is looking pretty over at this point, Atlas.
It's pretty dire. Nongshim as well. I think that if you're this roster with these players, you want to be higher in the standings. You don't want to be one of the teams that is struggling in the bottom 5. Oh my god! Diablo just explodes! Emperor's Divide does manage to get some damage back, but look at this! Nongshim say thanks for the engage angle and just obliterate them! I mean, the wallets were heavy, but I didn't know that their knees were this weak and their palms were this sweaty, Wolf.
Yeah. Kingen, I think he's in danger, but not, maybe I'm wrong, because he's Camille.
Yeah, well, Kingen is just going to give him a thumbs up. Fisher is going to knock them all up. He goes golden as well, just to show how cool he is, and then he dies. That is going to be Raptor, at least keeping him honest. But in the meantime, as you can see, Nongshim are winning the game. Gideon, win becomes lightning, but Nexus becomes exploded, and Nongshim are going to pick up the 2-0 over BNK FearX. What an incredible performance. Finally, I say, for the Noodle Boys.
Yeah, and they were at the bottom of the most dominant group. Like, they're competing within their group with D+, undefeated, Gen G, you know, MSI champions, super team, KT Rolster, who is actually surprisingly doing quite well, and then DRX, who had some really phenomenal performances with Lazyfield and UCal, and Rich performing better than I think a lot of people expected. They end up going 2-3 at the end of the group, but it was a very competitive group, very dominant here for Group Elder as they pick up their 16th and final win here of the group battle. And, you know, for BNK, I think there's a lot of learning that needs to happen between now and LCK, because they have a roster that I think exceeded our expectations, at least exceeded mine in terms of what their performance was like, but it still isn't enough.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the depth of the champion pool of Lehens and what this team can do with it, that when we saw this roster we were hoping for, Fearless really empowers it. I want to see Nongshim lean into this a lot more, because this is the kind of draft that can catch even a team like Hanwha Life off guard, because you just don't see drafts like this all the time. You don't scrim against them all the time. You're not necessarily super ready for how this is all going to play out. I thought BNK played the early macro game decently well, but once they got picked apart once, they just looked super lost.
Yeah, they really did. But I just want to talk about Nongshim, because this team, we've been waiting for this, man. And I'm just so happy that we finally see it. BNK, I think you're right. And it's so weird to say, like, they've exceeded our expectations when I think a lot of us had them in last place, and that's kind of where they are. But the performance, like Diablo, I think looked a lot better than I expected, especially. Just wasn't enough to pick them up a victory outside of stealing some games away here and there. And now they've got a long break before the LCK starts. Of course, LCK Cup still with some time to go, but they're not going to be challenging for that top spot in that first international, the treat that we get at the beginning of the year. It's not going to be one that we'll see BNK Furex along at.
No, it is. This format is pretty forgiving, but one team doesn't go.
Yeah.
And they are the one. So coming in as the weakest team for the LCK means there's a lot to improve. And I mean, just moves like this, you know, these clutch plays, these angles that Lehens sees, his experience on these unusual support picks is just the Lehens diff, you know. And I thought also with a wild champion pool like Gio has, like this is going to be a super fun bottom duo to watch. And I think for a lot of this tournament, they kept it pretty standard, pretty real. Yeah, we saw Lehens play the Elise before, but, you know, pulling out the Shen here instead of just playing something normal in this game and just closing it out in a flashy way, like you said, it's what we've been waiting for, it's what we've been wanting. And if you're a Nongshim fan, it's got to feel really nice. Sure, you're still bottom of your group, but you got 2 wins, and you know, that's 2 more than your opposition has had today, right? You feel like you're going into play-ins with some extra momentum.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like room for development in the play-ins as well. Like there's a like best of 5s or a lot of games to play. And if Nongshim keep playing these really fun compositions, playing them well coordinated, this is going to be such a fun team to watch, and also a scary one for the opposition, because they are so flexible, like you were saying. Like, you got Lehens. He can just play lots of weird stuff. And G was no stranger to that either. Oh god, this was a jump scare.
Yeah, this was.
I mean, we mentioned it already. Diablo was never playing this game.
No.
Sadly.
I also feel like this was one of the only decisions you could not make here at this point in time to try to defend. Like, you know, you have a misfortune, maybe you play around your Nexus turrets, but going in there into this comp that has so much I've got taunts for days, I've got shields for days, was definitely not going to be it.
This was a funny one.
Yeah, this was hilarious.
King, and look at his, he's got like a nervous smile. He's like, oh, sorry about that one.
I want to see Fisher play more utility, man. If he can play Galio like this, I want to see him play Karma mid, okay? You know, like,
yeah,
I want to see him play
bring back the Lulu, let's go.
Because I haven't trusted a lot of his damage dealers, especially 80 carries last year, but if he can play Galio like this, I wonder what else he's got in his pocket.
Well, Jiu is going to top the damage here. We can see, like, Clear actually had an okay time against King in the lane, but it just really felt like he was never able to really do anything at all. Raptor gave it his best shot, but I felt like compositionally it was a masterstroke from Nongshim, and BNK not really able to give Diablo anything that he could actually do. So you can see he dropped off a cliff as far as gold was concerned, and clean 2-0, nothing to see here from Nongshim.
Yeah, 2 sub-30-minute games. No surprise Lehens get it.
The most obvious. This was the Lehens, as we mentioned, that felt like giving an interview today.
Yeah, I imagine it will likely be unanimous as well.
I would hope so.
I think there were a lot of players who had a great time in Game 2 there with him, but with his performance in Game 1, it's just like it has to be him. Like, he was the best player both games.
Yep, he is just him. That is how it goes. And he's also one of the greatest interviews that we have here in the LCK as well, full of charisma, so I'm excited that we do get to have a chat to him at the same time. One of the biggest moves, you could say, from the Stove League, from the offseason, was Kingin and Lehens, 2 of these huge veteran names, going over to Nongshim, which was known as the sort of rookie team here in the LCK.
Yeah, I just really excited to see Lehens too on a roster that I think isn't as high caliber as some of the ones he's been on last time. Let's see what he can accomplish with a team like this. I'd love to see it.
Yep, and I'd love to hear from him as well. So now it is time to throw it over to the interview. Take it away, dear.
Thank you very much, guys. This is here for the POM interview translation, joined by Lihan on the side of Nongshim Red Force. Congratulations! Thank you.
그룹 배틀 마지막 경기를 마치신 소감 어떠신가요?
You just got out of your last group battle match. How do you feel?
이겨서 너무 다행이고요.
I really wanted to finish strong with a victory, and I'm very relieved that we're able to do that. And I didn't really think that it was a clean match, but I think I would say I'm pretty satisfied.
엄청난 기록이 또 나왔습니다.
And we got a new record on the last day of group battle match, which was our very first support POM today. How do you feel?
여기 와주신 팬분들 덕분에 할 수 있었던 것
You know, the reason I was able to even get a POM today is because of all the fans that have paid us a visit today. So thank you. I would like to return the favor and say thank you to everyone. And it's no surprise that you're a good Elise support player, but your game 1 Elise play was almost like Spider-Man. And even during the draft, you took Elise quickly. So do you think Elise belongs to the top of the tier list? Yeah, a lot of supports actually do favor playing Elise, and I think I have been one of those players that have been playing Elise support from a very long time ago. So yes, I do believe that Elise is great. And yeah. So did you want to go ahead and was it your decision to go with Elise? Yeah, I think I really did appeal to the team, and I wanted to be vocal about playing Elise today. And in game 2, Cloud Templar, the Shen enjoyer, was so excited about your Shen support. So can you walk us through the Shen pick? You know, I'm really glad that I was able to show you give you a good show, Cloud Templar. Thank you for your support. And anything you would like to say to DN Freaks, since they were able to advance to the play-ins. You know, maybe you guys should treat us, take us out to dinner sometime. And you know, I hope that we all can be successful. And now, OK Savings Bank Brian will be your first opponent in the play-in stage. So please share your resolution. So we just have to climb up from where we are right now. So I hope that we become an even cooler and an amazing team over time. And that's the end of the interview with Lihan. Please stay tuned for the super hyped episode 2 of Lolmans, and now throwing it back to the space. Thank you.
Thank you very much, dear. I'm super hyped after that translation. As welcome back to the space. It's a clean 2-0 for the Noodle Boys. Nothing to see here as they take care of business, moving into the play-in stage. Digon alongside Mr. Daniel Ox Harrison and the Valdanalist here, Brendan Valdez.
That is my name, alongside of the Danalist. Dan, you had something you want to say?
No, I just wanted to talk about, we had the POM, Lahan's pretty good.
I see, okay.
Yeah. I think very deserving, and I think ultimately, when we have Lahan's, wow, everyone deserve it.
What?
When we have Lahan's playing pick out there, it's pretty hype.
He did play Zaya pretty well in game 1, and then he was an absolute passenger in game 2? I don't know. He should have been on the Lahen's hype train, I think.
We need a comment from John Strong right now.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to happen. We're freaking out. I was just kidding. Production. All right, let's get to our comments, though. Oh.
Lashen stiff. Very good.
Very good.
Oh, yeah, because he played Shen.
That is, you know, it has like, if you take the S out, it looks like his name. It is his name because Lahen's.
That's really. You know what?
Yeah.
That's a good point.
That is a pretty good point. I do think, you know, your comment as well is pretty neato.
Yeah. I think this is when Lahen's is at his best. Like, I don't think Shen or Elise are like that crazy in terms of support picks. Like, we've seen the Elise before, we've seen Shen support before, but when he's gone a little bit more out there compared to the traditional supports, like moving away from things like Leona Alistar, I think that's when we get the best Lahen's. A lot of people remember things like his Sin support and Yumi, and it really is when you see him flourish the most as a player.
Let's see what else that we had from our caster that was on the call. My champion pool is Legendary.
Right, so this one, if you actually switch,
the H for G. The H? Legendary.
The H.
H.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He is half, a little, actually a quarter Irish. That's true. Yeah, they do say it like that.
I see. You had a Spider-Man fact for us, real quick.
He's from New York City, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I actually know a guy from New York City.
It's crazy.
I work with him. Yeah, he might be on the far side of the couch. Helio saying, it's me, Lahens. I'm just this good.
See, Lashen's GIF was better than that one.
Yeah.
Say,
Whoa.
It's me, Lahens. I'm just this good.
Usually other people will say that yours
Legends
is better.
This one actually explains wolves. This actually explains
the follow-up explanation. Thank you so much, Rascal.
He's just
Rascal
one
with
letter.
the observant eye. Yes.
Just one letter, yeah.
If people were confused, you know, we had our explanation, but Rascal already beat us to it.
I brought my Korean comprehension book today, and now I feel like we're getting the English comprehension lesson as well. That was good.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the draft here because the guys on the casting desk were pretty adamant that it was very, very difficult to play. What say you to analysts?
Yeah, I really don't like the MF here. It's so hard to play in this composition. It feels about as questionable as trading Luka to the Lakers. And when you're into Camille, when you're into Galio, when you're into Xin Zhao and Shen, you're just never going to be able to press ult. There's just no chance of it. The Jax at least has like good value into Xin Zhao and Camille, but then you couldn't even pressure the side lane because of the Shen and the Galio threats being there. So I just think it was rough from the draft.
You know, Nongshim, they built a real composition. It was 5 players. They had multiple globals with the Galio, with the Shen. You could be all over the map. You couldn't win the side lanes, as you mentioned. They had Ezreal, which is fantastic to always be in position. Xin Zhao, a nice front line. And BNK had 5 champions.
Yeah, they were missing a big. They were one big away. Let's take a look at our first highlight here, as it is the Lashen's show, as he was everywhere early on.
And I mean, this is the power of the Shen. You know, in these side lanes where typically Jax can flourish, especially into the likes of the Camille, who we see this next matchup into, you just can't have the same pressure. This is a 1v1 where, even though it doesn't end up resulting in a kill for the Camille, Jax was winning this. The Shen comes in, he has to disengage from the situation. And it just means not only do you have scenarios where you're finding kills in the side lane, you're losing your pressure in the side lane, the Galio also has options there. And it just means that, you know, the side lane win conditions kind of doomed for the side of BNK FearX, but also the team fights were kind of doomed for them too because the engage is so good with this comp from Nongshim.
What is the ideal fight here for BNK FearX? What would that have looked like, do you think, Dan?
I mean, I guess if they kind of botch the engage, if they come in and they pick the wrong target, Jack's Counter-Strike gets a lot of value. Maybe MF, for some reason, they can't reach her. There's like, you know, enough members in the way to body block. And she gets a big ult across everyone. But it's like you're kind of relying on the other team messing up. And when I'm talking about the messing up, it's like they're messing up Camille Galio, which is like one of the easiest combos to play.
With Shen.
You just press R, press R. It's like, it's not hard. And that's the fact that you're kind of hoping for that to go wrong. It shows how dire it was.
And you know, we did have some fights that actually looked like that, because Nongshim weren't super clean with this comp either, which was kind of funny, but it was like they had to get ahead, BNK, to do really anything, but even with Nongshim kind of messing it up, they still couldn't do anything.
And then finally here, this is the highlight that closed the game on off with Azir by Vikla getting caught out, uses TP to get out, but then, oh, look what's spawning right now. It's Anakin on the top side of the map.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate. Maybe if you had, I mean, you could have gone to the tier 2 tower that's still up. Maybe there was something closer you could teleport to, but I don't think he was really focused on that at the moment. But to teleport down immediately, like, oh wait, I gotta come back quickly. So yeah, maybe the tier 2 tower, some minions would have put him a little bit less far away. But you could see that for the side of Nongshim, they start this up, but immediately they're ready to turn it around, make it happen. The Divide comes out. The Emperor's Divide, a pretty good tool against Nongshim's comp, but doesn't get any value there.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the fights I was talking about. It's not even that super clean, right? It took them a lot of tools to try to kill Raptor, who's just one guy, and clears full health. He tries to do something, kind of just dives in desperately against 4. He dies for free. It was just, you know, they were scrambling on the side of BNK to get near them, and then you just have a million tools, almost literally, on the side of Nongshim to just press all your buttons, engage onto a weak target, and take them down.
I think that's the thing. When there's a draft difference like this, it's not like it's impossible, but it just makes it difficult, and one team has more tools than the other to make it work.
Well, you know what we have here at the LCK, one of the best production teams, because I did ask for a comment, just like you all at home were wondering, what was Jonah Strong thinking And didn't the ADC deserve a vote? All right, John Strong was just tossing a vote out there.
I mean, Jonas Strong, we know he loves to be the odd one out, so I think this is his good moment. He is an AD carry player to say, hey, I think Ju is good. But he didn't deserve it for this one.
Yeah, that's okay. Jonas Strong getting that one in there. Thanks to our production team for making that one happen. With this loss, though, that does mean we say goodbye for the final time until April. BNK FearX, so get the 07s in the chat for that one. We'll see you back in April, BNK FearX. I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back stronger. Now, it's time for our best ceremonies of the week. It was a little bit shorter as we had a couple of less matches, but we still had some good ones. And we start off with the maker of show. It is Showmaker. Just doing the little spin right here. Yeah. The Ronaldo celebration, the James Harden celebration, or Serge Gnabry.
I mean, he did play Tryndamere. Maybe he's indicating I like to spin, spin to win.
Oh, this is definitely the winner.
He didn't want to do this one.
He was so shy and nervous, but he did it. He committed.
Shy boy shoe for you.
Yeah. Right now, Showmaker in the lead. Also, we got this from Lehens.
Watch out, he's about to taunt you. He's getting right into the camera.
He did this.
Yeah.
All right, I think Showmaker wins by about 1 million billion points.
What do you mean?
I think
it's you. Chat, help us out here. Like
he's just doing the thing he always does.
Look, Showmaker's been here for years, right? This is like she was first POM. He goes and I think he nailed it. I think he did a great job.
I think it was a bit half-hearted from both of them. I'll give you that.
I'm very surprised we're pretty split. Like, I liked how close Lehens got to the cameraman.
I feel like this guy is such a hater.
He's a little bit of a hater.
Yeah, he really,
All right.
I want to see you.
I like to see Showmaker happy. That's it.
That's fair. That's valid. If Ma was here, he'd say something like, yeah, I agree. I love Showmaker.
All right, the Shu ones are popping off, or at least they're the loudest, so we'll keep going. We'll keep counting while we take a look at the standings. The group stage is finally over, and it was dominated by Group Elder. We have our slots all locked down in. Moving to the playoffs and taking a little bit of a sabbatical will be DK, Genji, and KT, your 1, 2, and 3. Then your number 1 seed for the play-ins will be T1 with Hanwha Life as 2, DRX, then Nongshim, then the Bros, and sliding into that final slot, thanks to the BNK FearX loss, are the DN Automotive Freaks. You get to see a little bit more of them.
I think what's kind of crazy is you look at Group Elder, and only really D+ do I feel like has looked like consistently solid. Genji has kind of been under expectations. We've seen like some, moments where KT, DRX, and Nongshim have looked a little bit off. But despite that, they're just so far ahead of Group Baron. Like, it's kind of crazy because I don't look at like KT and third and think, yeah, KT looked 100% solid, but they really were just leagues ahead of Group Baron. And you could see from the scores, it wasn't even close.
The scores on the side of Group Baron, pretty rough. Even the fact that Hanwha Life Esports, they had to take 2 losses to DK and Genji. I think the fact that DK were just so dominant really kind of changed everything because, there could have been a world where maybe Hanwha Life beats them or maybe, another team that isn't Bro
but the thing is
able to challenge,
The thing is, if D+ were 5-0, and if you just remove those 5 points, then they still had 11, so...
True.
Yeah.
As a group, very far ahead.
Let's take a look at the play-in stage bracket here. Again, the top seeds from these two, or from first and second, will get the buys. So that means our first match will be DRX versus the DN Automotive Freaks. Then it will be Nongshim, the Noodle Boys versus the Bros. It's the battle of that week 1 matchup. And the winner of those will then play the seeded teams in T1 and Hanwha Life Esports. But if you lose, you still have an opportunity to make it on in. 3 teams will then slot into the playoffs, which we have that bracket for you as well.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see what Bro can do, honestly. I feel like of the 4 teams in round 1, they've impressed the most. I think the match against T1, if they make it there in round 2, might be tough, but then we have the double limb from there. So I think it's going to be some hype matches, and excited to see us get deeper into the tournament, and eventually when we get to those best of 5s and have Fearless there, it's going to be really cool.
Yeah, that's really what I'm looking forward to as well. I think that obviously from this one, T1 seems like the strongest team by far, even over Hanwha Life Esports, who are not even a close second in my mind. I think especially with Smash coming in, T1 should be the favorites to get that 4th seed, but we'll have to play out the games and see how it goes.
All right, let's take a look at the playoffs, which we've got D+ and Gen G already waiting, seeded on into round 2. KT will play the bottom seed of this playing stage, which means seeds 4 and 5 will be doing battle early on in this one. You made a pretty big face there, Brendan. What caught your eye?
Nothing, just, you know, that 4th and 5th are going to go up against each other, which has a pretty high chance of being T1 versus Hama Life Esports right at the beginning of the tournament for that one. So a really huge matchup. I think that KT, for me, out of these 3, is the obvious kind of odd one out that snuck into playoffs right away. And even them against the 6th seed should be a close match.
Yeah, I mean, if it's the 6th seed ends up being like Bro, I could see Bro. And the thing is, I feel like normally we have
get his hopes up.
We have a full season. We
Stop playing with my ropes.
We go into playoffs and you look at it and you're like, well, this team's like really far ahead. This team's really far ahead. This team probably can't be this team. But honestly, based on how the teams have been playing, looking at this, I feel like a lot of upsets could happen. Like Gen G are in round 2 here, right? One of our top 2 teams so far in terms of where they are in the bracket, but they have not looked convincing. Only D+, I feel like, is the only team I'm like, they are definitely going to win, most likely whoever they go up against. But I think everyone else is kind of a bit of a toss-up.
Yeah, we'll see how that all plays out next week. DRX versus the DN Automotive Freaks, and then Nongshim versus OK Man Brion. It will be the Noodle Boys versus the Bros. Can't wait for that one. We got all the action covered for you as we finally progress out of the group stage of the LCK Cup and then into the knockouts. Here's the Challengers League schedule for week number 3. Hanwha Life and T1 will kick it all off. You can see all those matches there. We'll have co-streams for you. And before we let you go, we want to remind you, content not done yet for today. We have episode 2 of LOLmance for you here on the LCK channel. So make sure to stay tuned and watch that one. The group stages are done. We'll see you next week for more LCK actions. Until then, please take care of yourself. Thank you for spending the day with us. See ya.
내 성격 봐봐. 어제 배치 다 이겼다. 미쳤지?
뭐야, 버스 탔네.
아니 뭔 소리야? 야 딜량 봐봐. 딜량 지금 1등을 지금 몇 판을 했는데.
아, 그만해.
얘 왜 이러노?
애들아 반갑다모 모모모.
야, 내가 그 모자 쓰지 말라고 했지?
이거 방한용이다 뭐.
이따 피곤할 때 빼라. 야, 우리 이게 맞냐? 아니, 니 아까부터 와 그러는데. 야, 우리 언제까지 롤만 할 거야? 야, 내가 군대 갔다 보니까 우리 이제 나이도 좀 찼어. 이제 취업 준비해야지, 우리도. 아니, 그것 때문이었나? 니 군대 갔다 오니까 태세전 오지네, 그냥.
무슨 말이냐모? 올해 나는 새해 소원으로 팀으로 골드 가기로 약속했다모.
야, 너네 나중에 이력서에 롤티였을 거야? 그래봤자 너네 브론즈잖아. 야, 너네 언제까지 쓰레기처럼 살 거야, 어?
그치만 팀호랑 약속했는데.
야, 너네 롤하면 맨날 남 탓만 하지.
응.
그리고 그 남들도 너네 탓만 하지. 상대팀 정글은 맨날 걔 모으는데 우리 팀 정글은 안 오고, 어? 상대팀 요네는 대상혁, 우리 팀 야수는 김민교. 그럼 불합리한 게임 계속 할 거야? 이제 롤 접고 우리 정신 차려야 된다니까? 어? 이제 LCK도 좀 그만 보고 철 좀 들자, 철 좀, 어? 하긴 만년 붙다이고 피골도 안 되는데 까짓 거 접자?
그래. 골드는 취업하고 해도 늦지 않으니까. 티모야, 잠깐 안녕이다 뭐.
오케이. 그럼 우리 오늘부터 롤 접는 거다. 어? 나 같은 경우는 뭐 맘먹으면 바로 접지. 뭐 어떻게 계산으로 할까? 어벤져스.
어벤져스 재밌겠다 근데. 어벤져스 보자. 어벤져스 예약한다.
자, 여러분 이제 쉿.
대상이요? 아, 롤 적기로 했잖아. 와 그러노.
자, 시작하기 앞서서 오늘도 제 수업에 오신 것을 환영합니다. 오늘도 제 수업에 오신 여러분 환영합니다. 오늘도 제 수업에 오신 여러분 환영합니다.
아, 니 돈 나와야라나. 진짜 미치겠네. 정신 차리니? 응?
자, 다들 알죠? 우리 중간고사가 30일 남았습니다. 중간고사까지 30일 남았습니다. 그리고 오늘 수업은 PPT 보면서 진행할게요. 거기 뒤에 불 좀 꺼줄래?
불 좀 꺼줄래?
뒤에 학생.
네?
불.
아, 네네.
수업 끝.
감사합니다.
이야,
야, 맛있겠다. 먹자.
근데 된장찌개 진짜 오랜만인데? 너무 맛있겠는데? 아. 야, 너 뭐하냐?
티모가 좋아하는 버섯, 나도 버섯 좋아하거든.
야, 우리 롤 접기로 했잖아.
버섯 몇 개 있는지만 확인한 거다 뭐.
몇 갠데?
하나, 둘, 셋, 넷.
아, 진짜 하지 말라니까. 짜증나. 얘 뭐 된장찌개로 카이팅을 하고 있냐? 카이팅? 아니, 너가 롤 얘기하지 말자며. 뭐 지가 더 하는데, 그냥? 아, 몰라. 아, 나 화장실 갈 거야.
하긴 경호 말이 맞는 것 같기도 하다 뭐. 롤에서 남는 것도 없고 그냥 이러다가 자기 개발하고 롤 할 시간에 운동이라도 했으면 더 좋았을 것 같은데.
근데 재밌지 않아?
재밌긴 하지.
재밌으면 스트레스 풀리고.
그치?
스트레스 풀리면 자원수 잘 쓰고.
그치?
자원수 잘 쓰면 치유 잘 되고.
그치?
그럼 된 거 아니야?
그럼 되긴 했어.
그럼 한 판 하러 갈까?
한 판만? 진짜 딱 한 판. 체육카시 바텀 듀오? 한 판?
무슨?
갈까?
고!
가자.
같이 팀 한 판.
같이 팀 하나 가자.
잠깐. 아, 화장실 사람 개 많네. 야. 너 자크. 자크? 내가 롤 얘기하지 말라고 했잖아. 아니, 자크 내려갔다고. 어? 그래? 그래? 야, 손 씻었냐? 아니? 왜? 아, 나 진짜 손 씻으라고. 여자들 이런 거 별로 안 좋아한다니까. 내가 누누이 말했잖아. 누누? 롤 얘기하지 말라니까. 와, 진짜 미치겠네. 아, 지금 너가 지금 롤 얘기를 더 하고 있는데?
아유, 둘이 아주 세트로 잘 논다.
세트? 내가 세트 잘하는 건 맞아. 근데 뭐 어쩌라고. 롤 얘기 좀 하지 말라고. 진짜 롤 금단에서 무섭다. 그냥 사람이 그냥 미쳐가네. 저분 우리 학교 학생이었어? 대박이다.
그때 PC방 맞죠?
맞아요.
셋 다 우리 학교인 줄 몰랐는데 혹시 나이가?
아, 저희 00년생이에요.
진짜? 나도인데. 같은 학교에 동갑인데 우리 말 나도 되지? 난 윤서연이야. 반가워.
난 백지현.
난 박의진이야.
송경호라고 해요.
혼밥하려고 했는데 나 여기 같이 앉아도 되지?
근데 오늘 너는 PC방 알바 안 가?
응, 오늘 쉬는 날이야. 참, 그때 보니까 너네 롤 잘하더라?
아니 뭐 그냥
아니야.
그냥 뭐 좀 하는 거지 뭐. 근데 너도 롤 해?
응, 좀 하지. 티모 대위 명을 받치겠습니다. 하나, 둘, 셋, 넷, 예썰. 오늘은 게임 안 해?
그게 우리가 오늘부터 롤을 접기로 해가지고.
왜 갑자기?
우리 이제 취업 준비해야지. 다 성인인데.
난 미래가 있는 남자라고.
아, 진짜? 아쉽네. 나 사실 너의 버스 좀 타려고 그랬거든. 너의 버스 좀 타려고 그랬거든. 너의 버스 좀 타려고 그랬거든. 작년 월드 결승 봤지? 와, 진짜 대박. 나 마지막 경기 대상역 갈리오 보고 반해서 갈리오만 했잖아. 요즘엔 안배사 하는데 야, 스킬셋 짱 좋더라? 신챔 사기야. 미쳤어. 너네 해봤어?
아니, 우리는 저거가지고.
우린
뭐 하다 보면 가끔 스트레스 받아도 그 손맛을 어떻게 참어. 야, 그랩챔으로 땡기면 그 짜릿함이 티모 때문에 정글 차이, 바텀 차이 하고 싶을 때도 있는데 뭐 내가 못할 때도 있는 거잖아. 시즌마다 메타 바뀌는 것도 재밌고 하다 보니까 실력도 늘고 티어 오르는 것도 재밌고. 아 맞다, 너네 어제 LCK 경기 봤어? 리그 룰 바뀐 거 알지? 시즌도 많아지고 피어리스 뱀픽으로 바뀌었는데 이거 완전 쫄깃해. 별달러 알지? 나는 다른 게임 하더라도 결국 돌고 돌아 롤로 오게 되더라. 시즌 때문에 스트레스 받아도 가끔은 랭게임 돌려야지, 안 그래? 와, 얘기하다 보니까 한 판 하고 싶어. 안 되겠다. 나 지금 갔다 올게, PC방. 이거 먹으면서 하면 되니까. 같이 못해서 아쉽지만. 이따 봐, 그러면. 안녕!
못 참겠다. 티모 하러 가자.